trial on the basis of being biased towards the judge recused herself, and the matter was assigned to this court in March 2025 for trial. Upon adoption of jurisdiction, having in mind that this matter has stayed for 10 years and the interest of justice, I granted a selected hearing. As a result of that selected hearing, I created morning and afternoon session in this court so as to accommodate this trial. The prosecution opened its case. In total, the prosecution called 5 witnesses and tendered several exhibits. The court ensured that the prosecution was kept on its toe during the presentation of this case, and same was closed on the 19th day of June 2025. It is worthy to observe that during the time when the prosecution was calling its witnesses, several adjournments were at the instance of the defendant. For instance, on the 29th day of April 2025, the defendant sought for an adjournment for cross-examination of PW1. Also, on the 2nd day of May 2025, the defendant counsel also sought for adjournment for continued cross-examination of PW1. Likewise, on the 18th day of May 2025, the defendant counsel applied for adjournment. In addition, on the 14th day of May 2025, defendant applied for an adjournment. Also, on the 24th day of May 2025, defendant applied for an adjournment as part of the options opened, or as part of options after the close of the case for the prosecution. The defense opted for the option of filing no case submission, which this court duly had after adoption of written addresses. Ruling was delivered on the 26th day of September 2025, wherein the no case submission was overruled. The issue of extraordinary rendition, validity of the charge, all were incorporated in the no case submission. After going through the no case submission, the court overruled same, and the defendant was called upon to enter his defense. In the ruling delivered on the 26th day of September 2025, the court emphasized and laid importance to the issue of fair hearing as contained in section 36 of the Constitution, that the defendant shall be given opportunity to defend the charge he is facing. Upon this, the defendant was called upon to do so. The court in that ruling also pointed out the need for evidence to be given on oath, to give evidence on oath to challenge the evidence of the prosecution. In that no case submission ruling, the court mentioned the importance of the defendant to give evidence on oath because this is a criminal matter. It is not civil, where the standard of proof is on balance of probability. It is a criminal matter which the standard required under section 135 of the Evidence Act 2011 is beyond reasonable doubt. It's worthy to note that extraordinary rendition is a quasi-criminal issue in a criminal case, and evidence on oath must be given, and the opposing side must be given opportunity to cross-examine on that quasi-criminal issue in accordance with section 135 of the Evidence Act 2011. Also see the case of the DStv versus Orobore citation supply, where the Supreme Court held that where any allegation of crime or criminal are made in any matter, even in a civil matter, affidavit evidence will be insufficient and only oral evidence will be entertained due to the standard of proof being standard required in criminal matter, which is beyond reasonable doubt. These defendants had the duty to prove the allegation of extraordinary rendition in this criminal matter beyond reasonable doubt. The defendant has not called anybody to testify on oath in respect of extraordinary rendition, which would enable the other side to cross-examine such witness. The failure of the defendant to give evidence on oath on extraordinary rendition has made the allegation bare. It is simple and assertion without proof. The court was constrained to deliver the no case submission ruling earlier, as during the vacation of this court, the defendant has filed an application that he moved to a private ward in the National Hospital Abuja as the facility of the Department of State Security Service were not adequate to take care of his health. The court has quickly quickly rushed back due to the importance of health of the defendant. The court ordered the president of Nigerian Medical Association to constitute a panel of experts to carry out tests on the defendant to ascertain his health status and whether he is fit to stand trial. The need to ascertain his fitness to stand trial was based on the antecedents of causing delay in this trial. The court was suspicious whether the issue of medical reports based at that stage was preemptive of the ruling and laying foundation for unusual delay, which has been the trend since 2015. Based on this, the court added that the medical panel ascertained whether the defendant is fit to stand trial. It is actually a mystery to this court that a defendant who is standing trial would delay his own trial, while shouting that he is being denied his right to fair hearing. Usually, it is the prosecution that delays a trial as his life is not on the line. But in this case, the reverse was the case. The order of the court to ascertain his fitness was strategic to nip in the bud any attempt by him to further delay his trial. On the 16th day of October 2025, the court ruled on the medical report issued by the panel set up by the president of Nigerian Medical Association and determined that the defendant is indeed fit to stand his trial after no opposition from the defendant and the prosecution as regards the reports. The court had carefully observed the defendant during the entire trial and the spirited nature of the defendant. His unruly attitude and his agility in defending himself shows without that he is indeed fit to stand trial. Thus, corroborating the conclusion reached in the report by the panel set up by the president of Medical Association, even without the medical reports, the fitness of the defendant is clear to any reasonable person who observed him in court. His claim of being low on potassium or other nutrients as stated in his supporting affidavit to his application for transfer to National Hospital are not such that render him incapacitated from understanding the proceeding in this trial. He is healthy, fit, and abreast of all the happening in the trial, and demonstrated full understanding and fitness after taking over his defense himself from his counsel. I therefore hold without doubt that the defendant is fit to stand his trial. The court then proceeded to give the defendant 6 consecutive days to open and close his defense. Counsel to the defendant, Chief KANU had prayed the court to allow the private consultation between the defendant and his counsel in preparation for his defense. Despite the fact that there was no evidence before the court of the DSS dropping on the conversation of the defendant and his counsel, the court graciously asked the defendant and his counsel to use the courtroom for their pre-trial meeting since they felt more comfortable in the court. The development meant that the court had to clear the courtroom, and it meant that the court could not conduct hearing in the morning of 22nd day of October 2025 just to accommodate the defendant and his counsel. The court then adjourned the hearing for 23rd, 24th, 27th, 28th, and 29th and 30th October 2025 for the defendant to open and close his defense. On the 23rd of October 2025, the learned C representing defendants including KANU SAN, Onyechikpe SAN, Bodokoro SAN announced to the court that they wished to withdraw their appearance as defendant has indicated that he wanted to defend himself. The defendant confirmed this development and informed the court that he wished to represent himself as a party. Upon exercising his right to defend himself, the defendant came on the next date, and his excuse was that he was not given his case file by his departing counsel. This was no doubt another cause of a delay on his part. In the following day, the defendant appeared for himself and began challenging the decision of the court, arguing that there was no charge against him and that the medical report certified him fit was alleged doctor. The court patiently explained to him that some of these issues he is raising have been treated in no case submission, and some of other issues could be raised during the final address. The court then, who are experts in criminal litigation due to the seriousness of the charge against him, the court also offered to secure the service of counsel from the legal aids or a private legal practitioner willing to take the matter pro bono, which were all rejected by the defendants. The court continued to appeal to him, and even on the death here. As a point, the defendant informed the court that he wanted to call about 28 persons as witnesses, some of which witness summons. He called this shortly witness summons. However, the defendant abandoned this and through the case that there was no law provided for the offences his plain charges, that he could not defend the charge not found on the law. By this time, the defendant has still not opened his defense. Neither was there any seriousness on his part to put it in effect. The court, in discharging his duty to do justice, calmly and patiently advised the defendant to be cautious of the path he tended to take, as it was tantamount to resting his case on the part of the prosecution, which means that he admits the fact, evidence against him, but believes that it is insufficient to secure conviction against him. This court has been extremely patient and lenient with the defendant. He is only entitled to be given opportunity to defend himself as part of his right to fair hearing. Failure to use that opportunity granted by this court will be entirely his fault. He cannot complain thereafter of fair hearing. The right of the defendant to defend himself herself is a fundamental right, provided under Section 36 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended. Such rights cannot be taken from a defendant except where a defendant to open his right. The court informing him that it was minded to extend the date if he opened the defense on the 7th of November 2027. The court on the 27th of October 2027 made an order that the defendant come on the next day to put his defense or file his final written address, or any written address filed by him will be deemed as his final written address in this suit. Pursuant to this order of the court, on the 27th October 2025, the defendant filed a motion on notice / comprehensive written address on notice on address on non-existence of a cognizable charge and the unconstitutionality of continued of trial filed 30th of October 2025, and same will be deemed to be his final written address. That address is deemed as ordered by this court to be his final written address. The address as a comprehensive written address cannot be overemphasized. The word comprehensive, as used in that written address by the defendant, means, according to the online version of the Oxford Dictionary, is, and I quote, including, dealing with all, nearly all elements or aspects of something, unquote. The defendant in the motion on notice and comprehensive written address prayed for relief, including for the court to discharge him, which is a typical prayer in final written address in criminal matter. No doubt, the defendant clearly knew what he was doing by opting for final written address in form of motion / comprehensive written address in compliance with the order of this court made on the 27th day of October 2025. This will therefore be treated as the final written address of the defendant, and same have been treated and considered in their entirety. The defendant had also filed a notice of preliminary objection on the 16th day of October 2025. These two should be considered in the interest of justice, as the court having ordered that all preliminary objections will be determined in the judgments. Also, the preliminary objection filed on the 16th October 2025 is also considered thoroughly in these judgments. Another aspect of denial of fair hearing raised by the defendant is that he was misled into taking his plea in the charge. When the charge was read to be read to him, the court asked if he understood English. He responded that he did. When count 1 was read to him, he at first stated that he did not understand. The court ordered the registrar of the court to read the counts to him. He understood and took his plea. For the avoidance of doubt, I will reproduce part of the proceedings of 21st day of March 2025 when the plea of the defendant was taken. Registrar NNAMDI KANU, do you understand and speak English language? Defendant, I do. Yes. Registrar, listening to the charge against you. Count 1. Registrar, after reading, do you understand count 1 I read to you? Defendant, I don't. Court, take it again. Count 1. Registrar, after reading, do you understand count 1 I read to you? Defendant, I do. Yes. Registrar, are you guilty or not guilty? Defendant, not guilty. Count 2. Defendant, do you understand count 2 I read to you? Defendant, I do. Registrar asked, are you guilty or not? Defendant reacted, I'm not guilty. Count 3. Registrar read to him and asked him, defendant, do you understand count 3 I read to you? Defendant, I do. Registrar asked him, are you guilty or not? Defendant responded, I'm not guilty. Count 4. Registrar read and asked him, do you understand count 4 I read to you? Defendant responded, I do. Registrar asked him, are you guilty or not guilty? Defendant responded, not guilty. Count 5. Registrar read and asked him, do you understand count 5 I read to you? Defendant responded, I do. Registrar, are you guilty or not? Defendant responded, not guilty. Count 8, now count 6. Registrar read and defendant, do you understand count 6 I read to you? Defendant said, I do. Registrar, are you guilty or not? The defendant responded, not guilty. Count 15, original 15, now count 7. Registrar read and said, defendant, do you understand count 7 I read to you? Defendant responded, I do. Registrar asked him, are you guilty or not? Defendant responded, not guilty. The defendant clearly understands English language, being an educated man. On that day, he had his counsel, including senior advocates such as KANU SN, representing him on that day. The court complied with the procedure of taking the plea of the defendant in accordance with section 2712 and 3 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015, which provide us 1. The defendant to be tried on a charge or an information shall be brought before the court unfettered unless the court says cause otherwise to order, and the charge and information shall be read over and explained to him to the satisfaction of the court by the registrar or other officer of the court. B. Called upon to plead instantly unless where the person is entitled to service of the information he objects to the non-service and where the court find that he has not been duly served. 3. The court shall record the fact that he is satisfied that the defendant understands the charge or information read over to him and explained to him in the language he understands, and shall record the plea of defendant to the charge or information as nearly as possible in words used by him. Looking at the above statutory provisions of Additional Criminal Justice Act, the procedure adopted by this court, the defendant cannot turn round to claim he was misled to take plea after the prosecution has closed his case. It is nothing but the usual habitual flaw of the defendant to cause delay and make the matter to start mid-de novo. This court will not allow matter to be on its court list ad infinitum. On the issue of denial of adequate facilities, the defendant claimed that he was not allowed to consult with his legal representation in confidence at DSS, as the DSS officers were dropping on their conversations. The defendant is facing criminal trial and is entitled to the right to adequate time and facility in preparation for his defense. He enjoys the constitutional right to fair hearing, and in consequence to this right, has the right to adequate facilities as his defense. Section 36 6B of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended provide every person, I quote, every person charged with criminal offence shall be entitled to be given adequate time and facility for the preparation of his defense. See the position of the Supreme Court in respect of this provision as initiated in Igwe and the state citation supplied. As part of the package of rights available to a person facing criminal charge, he is entitled to all the facilities and enough to time for purpose of preparing his defense. This ties in with the right to presumption of innocence under Section 36(5) of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, which stipulates that until a person is declared guilty by a court of law, he is presumed to be innocent. The provision was the subject of interpretation by the Supreme Court, particularly by my noble Lord Akat DStv in Okoye and COP, citation supplied, where my Lord held, and I quote, the moment an accused person is facing a charge, his personal liberty is at stake, and before that liberty is taken away, he must be afforded every opportunity to defend himself once he becomes aware that he has a charge hanging upon his neck for an infraction of the law and makes a request either orally or in writing for any facilities to prepare his defense. The court must accede to his request and the prosecution has to comply. The facilities that must be afforded the accused person are the resources, anything which will aid the accused person in preparation of his defense to the crime for which he is charged. This, no doubt, includes the statement of the witnesses interviewed by the police in the course of the investigation, which might have absolved the accused of any blame or which may assist the accused to support such favorable witness that the prosecution counsel may not want to put forward to testify on oath. See case of Nweke and the state citation supply. The defendant did not provide any credible evidence as to this allegation of airdropping. The court, however, in order to do justice to him and suspecting that he was looking for another way to delay this trial, allowed him to consult with his lawyer on the 22nd day of October 2025 in the courtroom. Thus, the court had to vacate the courtroom for him, his lawyer to use. Despite this magnanimity by the court, the defendant did not make use of this opportunity. On the following day, the counsel withdrew his appearance. The defendant decided to defend himself, making the opportunity given to him to use the courtroom to be useless and of no purpose. Despite the fact that he is not a legal practitioner, he began using some of his counsel who he had earlier disengaged to act as legal consultants to him. The court even kindly ordered the DSS to allow these consultants have free access to him. This is in compliance with Section 36 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which provides for access to legal practitioners. Most of these legal consultants were always present in court. There is nothing to show that he was denied adequate facilities to prepare for his defense. He had enough time to prepare. He had been represented by senior advocates such as KANU and DStv, Onyeshi Ipe as SAN, Emeka Ipa as SAN, Paul Inokoro SAN, how to not get SAN among others before they were suddenly disengaged. And the defendant decided to represent himself, which this court suspected was also to cause another delay in the hearing of this matter. His allegation holds no water in the light of the facts and circumstances in this case. Consequently, this issue is resolved against the defendant. On the issue of extraordinary renditions, there are instances where a person commits offence against a country while residing in another country or flees the country soon after committing the same crime. In such instances, the country against which the offence is committed will request the country in which the suspect is residing to release him to it. The process is known in law as extradition. Extradition therefore refers to a legal process in which a state renders a person accused of committing a crime to the state against which the crime was committed, known as requesting nation. The Supreme Court in AG of Federation versus Enugu citation supply subsequently explain the concept of extradition as follows. Extradition is a cooperative legal process of one state called the surrendering state or authority which renders an individual to another state called the requesting state for prosecution or for punishment for crime committed within the requesting country jurisdiction. Extradition process is usually spelled out in bilateral or multilateral extradition treaties or agreements. Extradition becomes necessary when a criminal polity flees from one country to another to avoid facing trial or punishment. Persons who will be extradited include those who have been tried and convicted but escape custody by fleeing the country and thus convicted in absentia. A trial in which the accused person is not physically present. Extradition is distinguished from other modes of forceful removing undesirable person from a country, such as exile, expulsion, deportation. Extradition procedure are usually determined by the terms of the treaties between individual countries or by multilateral agreements between group of countries, such as the Commonwealth countries or the countries of the European Union. The receiving government then refer to its law. Its treaties specify obligations to the requesting nation and decide whether or not to extradite the person named in the warrant. Treaties signed in recent decades tend to take a dual criminality approach, classifying an extraditable offense that are punishable in both jurisdictions. Other extradition treaties, by contrast, tend to list covered offenses. Usually, the requesting and surrendering nation have a treaty or agreement which allows for such transfer. Nigeria, for instance, is signatory to regional agreements like the ECOWAS Convention on Extradition and other multilateral schemes such as the London Scheme for Extradition, which within the Commonwealth. The London Scheme for Extradition within the Commonwealth enables Nigeria to request and surrender fugitive to member nations of the Commonwealth. On the other hand, Extraordinary rendition is an extrajudicial measure to forcefully bring suspect or defendant to the country against which an offence is committed. These extraordinary measures may include adoption. The Supreme Court of Nigeria alluded to this in the case of Federal Republic of Nigeria versus NNAMDI KANU in SC/CR/13C1/2022, where my noble Lord Agin DSc held, and I quote, "Generally, abduction or kidnapped or any form of illegal removal of an accused from the territory of a state to another to face criminal trial or for a reason is prohibited by law. Extraordinary rendition or any other transfer without due process is unlawful. There is no doubt that the illegality in the process of bringing the respondent to Nigeria for the criminal case brought by the appellant against him in Nigeria, the attendant massive violation of his rights, render his prosecution by the appellant unfair and oppressive. While extraordinary rendition measures may, unquote, while extraordinary rendition measure may seem illegal on the face of it, the way and manner in which the attendance of a defendant is secured does not dictate his trial. In the United States of America, this is known as Kelfibri doctrines. This doctrine developed through the case law, notable cases of Kel versus Illinois, 119 U.S. 436-1886, and the case of FreeTV versus Collins, 342 U.S. 519 1952, where a messenger forcefully kidnapped the defendant from Peru and brought him back to the United States, even though he had been sent to Peru with a valid warrant and instructions to obtain the defendant with the cooperation of the local authority. Addressing Kel's due process challenge, the Supreme Court of the United States held that, and I quote, "Such forceful adoption is not sufficient reason why the party should not answer when brought within the jurisdiction of the court, which has the right to try him for such an offence and presents no valid objection to his trial in such case." In Freebrief by Collins, 342 U.S. 519 1952, it was a case where the defendant was tried and convicted in the state of Michigan after being adopted by Michigan authorities from Chicago, Illinois. Applying its decision in care, the Supreme Court upheld the conviction of the conviction over challenges based on due process and federal kidnapping law. The essence of Kel's Freebrief doctrine is that even though the act of rendition is illegal, a trial court may assert jurisdiction over the person regardless of the legality of the adoption under international law. In recent times, the Supreme Court relied on Kel's Freebrief doctrines in United States versus Alvarez Machines, 504 U.S. 65 1992. Alvarez Mission, a Mexican citizen, was adopted and brought to the United States at the direction of the Drug Enforcement Administration. The Supreme Court of the United States held that despite his forceful adoption from Mexico by United States officials, it did not affect the validity of his trial in the United States. As said earlier, the issue of extraordinary rendition is quite a criminal issue, which must be proved beyond reasonable doubt in accordance with Section 135 of the Evidence Act 2011. The law in Nigeria is strict that even a civil matter, once a criminal element is introduced, it must be proved beyond reasonable doubt. For instance, where an allegation of forgery is introduced in a civil proceeding, the standard of proof is proved beyond reasonable doubt. See the case of Minister of Equity versus Violence Consultancies Services Limited and another, citation supply, where the court of appeal held, and I quote, every forgery involves an alteration of documents, but not every alteration of documents amounts to forgery. Forgery involves alteration with a fraudulent intent. The fact and incident of forgery must be specifically pleaded and proved even in civil matters, as in this case beyond reasonable doubt. The appellant in this appeal has made allegation of forgery but failed to prove so. In the case of forgery, both the original document and the fake must be produced in court for examination. The appellant failed to produce any document in proof of these forged documents. Allegation of such forgery in any civil matters is criminal in nature. Therefore, proof is beyond reasonable doubt. See also the case of MAZI versus Federal Republic of Nigeria, among other authorities. The evidence in proving an unlawful extraordinary rendition must be oral evidence obtained which allows the adverse party to cross-examine the defendant on his oral evidence. The defendant only sought an affidavit to the fact that the affidavit evidence is best used in civil proceedings, where the standard of proof is on balance of probability. The affidavit filed by the defendant is grossly insufficient to establish if indeed he was extraordinarily registered or he was illegally brought to Nigeria. The gap in evidence will therefore means that no evidence was left regarding the extraordinary rendition. Assuming, without considering, that there was evidence regarding the extraordinary rendition, the court will consider the effect of the extraordinary rendition on the validity of the trial of the defendant. The defendant, in his written address, has argued strenuously that the way he was brought back from Kenya was illegal, and thus initiates his trial before this court. He relied heavily on the decision of the Court of Appeal in Federal Republic of Nigeria versus KANU, in appeal number CA/ABJ/CR/C25/2022, delivered on the 13th day of October 2022 on the issue. The court held, and I quote, in consequence of this session, I hold that the respondent is prohibited from being detained, tried, or otherwise dealt with in Nigeria for or in respect of any offence allegedly committed by him before his extraordinary rendition to Nigeria. The lower court thus has no jurisdiction. I further hope to try the appellant on counts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, and 15, which were retained by it, being charges allegedly committed by the appellant proud of his extraordinary rendition. In addition, by the forceful adoption and extraordinary rendition of the appellant from Kenya to the country on the 27th day of June 2021, in violation of international and state law, the lower court or indeed any court in the country is divested of jurisdiction to entertain charges against the appellant, and I so unquote. When this issue came up before the Supreme Court, the Apex Court, in Federal Republic of Nigeria versus KANU in SC/CR/1361/2022, delivered on the 15th day of December 2023, the Apex Court held para ML Gaba JSA, and I quote, I told my noble Lord M.L. Gabbard, JSC, I agree with the learned counsel for the appellant that the procedure used in bringing or producing the respondent before the trial court for the trial of the offences in the counts of the charge in questions in respect of which he was validly arraigned did not affect or even go to the statutory jurisdiction of that court to proceed with that trial. The procedure, mode, manner by which the respondent was produced before the court is in before the trial court is in law.
On the news, civil and public servants urged to embrace digital technology. On the national front, Vice President Shettima says President Tinubu committed to KB schoolgirls rescue. In business news, federal government plans 1.49 trillion naira electricity export revenue. And on the foreign scene, Trump signs bills to release Epstein's files. Good afternoon. Many thanks for joining me on the news today. I am Ogochukwu Osai. Details of this and more in a moment. It was a day of engagement, reflection, and renewed commitment as civil servants, government officials, and stakeholders, and invited guests as well, gathered at Surveyor's House, Okwara Avenue, for the 2025 Civil and Public Service Week celebration organized by the Enugu State Government Office of the Head of Service. The event centered on a public lecture titled Leveraging Technology for a Smart and Agile Public Service, a theme chosen to highlight the growing need for digital solutions and innovation in modern government. Afia TV correspondent Kosiene brings us the highlights from the event.
From the early hours of the day, the venue buzzed with energy as participants arrived, exchanging greetings and preparing for the event. The hall was decorated with the official Civil Service Week banner, capturing the spirit of modernization and service excellence. The celebration opened formally with the national anthem, followed by a welcome address by Dr. Ugonna Idike, who welcomed attendees, emphasizing the importance of embracing technology to enhance efficiency, transparency, and public trust in the civil service.
I want to tell us civil servants, without you, the governor and the present administration cannot sustain all this problem. And being a civil servant is a great honor. Most of us have failed to understand our role as civil servants. And that's why you witness that some of the political appointees always come with their own people they claim they are more educated, they are more knowledgeable than you. That's why His Excellency the Governor has initiated this type of training, which is going to continue, it's going to periodic, so that you will be exposed to digital learning. You will be exposed to new technology. You will be exposed to the changes we are witnessing.
The keynote lecture on leveraging technology for a smart and agile public service unpacked how digital tools, automation, data systems, and innovation can help government workers deliver services faster, reduce paperwork, improve communication, and respond better to citizens' needs.
So, a smart and agile public service refers to a public service that has the capacity, please note it, capacity to use modern technology and adapting strategies, okay, to deliver efficient and effective services to the public. You must not miss out that word public, because you are there not just to serve government, but also to serve the citizens. Okay? So yeah, the resources of the state are entrusted in government to deliver good services to the people. And government uses you now as its employees to do what? To provide those services. The question is, are the services rich and effective? So how do you make it happen that way? And one of the ways of doing that is making use of technology in the modern time.
Outside the formal presentations, several participants shared their thoughts on the importance of technology in today's public sector.
We are looking at a situation where we will not be talking of paperwork, we'll be talking of digitalization of the system, because that goes a very long way for a very seamless government where there will be transparency, where corruption will be reduced to minimum, and at the end of the day, our IGR and our service delivery will be top-notch.
I've learned a lot to be a smart and agile public servant, to deliver it, to be digital in the public sector, to adapt the innovation, to have a good knowledge, to impart knowledge, to use digital computers, to become digital technology in the delivery of my duties.
The lecture given to us today is so excellent. And from all indication, I know that if I get to my office, I have to leverage on it by going into digitalization, by adapting to the new trends, using my systems, my laptop, because the system now is becoming digitalized. No more analog. Paperwork is being minimized. So we are going far in this digital system.
This digitalization helps us in teaching especially the physically challenged people, deaf people. It has helped them in different ways. They are not hearing and they cannot hear any sound. But with the help of this computer and other things we are using to teach them, and other electronic gadgets we are used to teach them, it helps them a lot. Especially this government that makes everything too easy for them in terms of this digitalization. We are much happy. All the teachers are happy from this development that started immediately from this present regime.
In his closing remarks, Dr. Patrick Buchi encouraged civil servants to put the day's lessons into practice, embracing new tools and approaches that improve public service delivery and strengthen the efficiency of government operations. As the 2025 Civil and Public Service Week moves forward, today's lecture reinforced the need for continuous learning and modernization in government operations. For Enugu State's workforce, it was a call to embrace digital tools that can improve productivity and strengthen public service delivery. In Enugu, Kosi Ene, reporting for Afia TV.
Already here, which is today, for the lingering matter between the federal government and the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, NNAMDI KANU. Expectations are in the air, especially in Omaha, as to whether or not KANU will be set free. Afia TV's Deputy Chief Correspondent, Emmanuel Mwazwe, interacted with cross-sections of residents who were optimistic about KANU's release. Take a look.
Let's not look at that matter with respect to law, because I know that it's God that judges rightly. And as a father, like the president who is a father, I will advise, let him tamper justice with mercy. Nnamdi Kanu is a son to him, and we shouldn't focus our mind on what he didn't do or what he did. But let there be prerogative of mercy administered onto such a case. Because the earlier the better. And when we view that case, or when we take it in a fatherly ground or platform, it will yield a good dividend, even in the southeast. As soon as Nnamdi Kanu is released, I think the tension will really release. And actually, what actually made him to face that judgment may not come into his mind again.
I've been expecting this day to come. And I want to say that it will be an eyesore if this man is not released tomorrow or any time from now, because it has been an expectation that he has to be released, because he has done nothing. You cannot detain somebody who has done nothing for several years and no reason to keep him there for up to this moment. So I want to say that it will be a thing of joy. Not only of joy, I want to say that those who have held him captive for so many years now should let him go.
We are anticipating that NNAMDI will be freed so that we enjoy maximum peace in the southeast. I think previous courts, have freed him, and the federal government has refused to let him go. We expect to welcome him in joyous mood, the normal here in the southeast.
We need mainly southeast needs NNAMDI to be released, because we have suffered because of detention since how many years, and we are not expected like that. We are pleading our president to release him, because what he is fighting is not for himself alone, but for the interest of all the Southeast and South-South.
No less than 600 vulnerable persons in Imo State, particularly physically challenged among them, were on Wednesday provided with financial support through the Renewed Hope Initiative, the brainchild of Senator Oluremi Tinubu, wife of President Bola Tinubu. The exercise, which took place at the Government House Owerri, was carefully designed to achieve inclusion of the vulnerable persons in the scheme of things of the government, with emphasis on supporting such population in Imo State financially. Represented at the occasion by the wife of the Vice President, Hajima Nana Shatima, Mrs. Tinubu, who is the chairman of RHI, gave out different food items and cash to the beneficiaries before a large audience of invitees that included national and state government officials. Speaking at the occasion, Mrs. Tinubu's representative, Hajia Shatima, emphasized the need to empower women, citing their critical roles in shaping the nation's future. In her remarks, the wife of Governor of Imo State, who is also the secretary of the Renewed Hope Initiative, Barrister Mrs. Chioma Ozodima, said the food outreach program organized by the RHI under the leadership of Senator Tinubu is born out of deep empathy and concern for the welfare of all Nigerians facing difficult circumstances. On a sad note, police in Ebonyi State have confirmed the killing of Mr. Christopher Igwe, the younger brother of Mr. Uchenna Igwe, Commissioner for Local Government and Chieftaincy Matters, by suspected armed robbers. SP Joshua Okando, the command spokesman, confirmed the incident in Abakaliki, the state capital. SP Okando explained that the incident occurred around Ishiki Access in a Ebonyi local government area at about 10 p.m. on Monday night. The spokesman noted that men of the command had already launched an investigation into the matter for the possible arrest of the hoodlums. He therefore urged residents to provide available and useful information to ensure that the perpetrators of the crime are brought to book. We'll take a quick break here. When we return, we'll look at stories on the national front. Please stay with us.
To endure. KANU Group, in partnership with the Enugu State Ministry of Culture and Tourism, presents the Igbo Global Icon Awards, IGIA 2025. A time for all the Igbos to highly give the iconic awards to the heroes in sports, journalism, music, movies, travel, transportation, education, manufacturing, import and export, security, political leadership, comedians, and lots more. Visit www.canasentertainment.com/Igia Awards. Venue, Amadio Event Center, Enugu. Red carpet, 3 p.m. prompt. Igia Awards will hold on 23rd of November, 2025. Official media partners, Afia TV and radio. For sponsorship, call 091-6565-2031. Igia is supported by MTN, Inosim Motors, None of You Properties, Luke Media, Sublistus Media, and more. Igbo Global Icon Awards, promoting our culture and history.
Close your eyes, feel the drums, hear the cheers. This November, Enugu becomes Fest 2025 brings all 36 states and the FCT together for 1 week of magic. See style redefined at the swag show. Hear voices soar at the sing-off. Watch dance reach new heights at the dance-off. Feel the thrill of Dambe boxing and traditional wrestling. Play your way through Ayo, Ludo, and timeless board games. Experience the future at the esports arena. Discover stories on the big screen at the Eastern Nigeria Film Festival. Celebrate young stars in children's quiz, essay and art competitions. Taste Niger pride at the Jollof Wars. Watch homes transformed at the Niger Home Makeover. And party with headline acts at the opening and closing concerts. Plus, join big conversations at the Colloquium and British Council Creative Hustle Workshops. From November 22nd to 29th, the International Convention Center and Okpara Square are the capital of culture. 1 week, 1 city, 1 nation this November. NAFest is coming to 042.
Welcome back, and now looking at stories on the national front. Vice President Kashim Shettima has assured families of the abducted KB schoolgirls that President Bola Tinubu is deeply committed to their safe rescue as he works to ensure that justice is also served for the tragic deaths of Brigadier General Musa Uba and the Vice Principal. The Vice President, who spoke on Wednesday while in Kebbi, the Kebbi state capital, on the directive of the President, Tinubu described the abduction of the schoolgirls from the boarding school in Maga as an assault on the collective conscience of all Nigerians. He vowed that the government will deploy all instruments of the state to rescue the school children and ensure the abductors and killers of the gallant military general and the vice principal are made to face the full weight of justice. The Vice President promised that the federal government will support the families of the late General Uba and the late Vice Principal and others who were killed by the terror groups, while doing everything possible to rescue the abducted school children. In other development, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Waidi Shaibu, has asked troops of Operation Hadin Kai to remain alert and maintain an aggressive posture in ongoing operations against terrorists in the northeast. This was disclosed in a statement signed by the Media Information Officer, GTF Operation Hadin Kai, Lieutenant Colonel Sani Uba, on Thursday. Lieutenant General Shaibu issued the change charge during an operational assessment visit to the headquarters of the Joint Task Force Northeast Operation Hadi Kai in Maiduguri, Borno State. Meanwhile, the visit is aimed at assessing the security situation, evaluating operational effectiveness, and strengthening collaboration with security stakeholders. And still on the national front, the federal government has reaffirmed its commitment to ensuring safer learning environments for Nigerian students through continued support for the Safe School Initiative. The Minister of State for Finance, Doris Uzoka-Anite, made this known in Abuja during the 2025 International School Students' Day celebration demonstration organized by the Office of the Special Assistant to the President on Student Engagement. Speaking at the event, the S8 on Student Engagement to the President, Sunday Asefon, emphasized the transformative power of the education in nation building. This year, the National Association of Nigerian Students marked the day in Abuja with the theme Empowering Students to be Agents of Change, highlighting patriotism, productivity, and the push for student rights and unity. And moving away from that to business news now, the federal government is projecting nearly $1 billion in annual revenue from electricity exports to 15 West African countries under the Economic Community of West African States sub-region from June 2026. The Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabo, who revealed this at the new revenue stream at the press conference on Wednesday in Abuja, also announced that Nigeria successfully conducted a grid synchronization test with 15 West African countries for 4 hours on November 8, 2025. He said the development positions Nigeria to fully exploit its strategic role as the regional power hub under the West African power pool, especially as generation companies ramp up compliance with free governor control and operational discipline crucial to regional grid stability. Adelabu noted that the earnings are based on what a full 600 megawatts export capacity is capable of generating at the prevailing regional tariff as Nigeria pushes towards full participation in the West African power market. Meanwhile, Director General, National Council on Climate Change, Mrs. Tenionye Majekonumi, has said that Nigeria will intensify efforts to advance the green economy towards mitigating climate change and meet the 32% emissions reduction target by 2035. Tenionye disclosed this while speaking with newsmen at the 30th United Nations Climate Change Conference of the Parties in Belém, Brazil. She said focus on overall environmental sustainability, including renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, and waste management will be maintained nationwide. We'll take another break. When we return, we'll look at stories on the foreign scene and the world of sports. Please stay.
KANU Group, in partnership with the Enugu State Ministry of Culture and Tourism, presents the Igbo Global Icon Awards, IGIA 2025. A time for all the Igbos to highly give the iconic awards to the Igbos in sports, journalism, music, movies, transportation, education, manufacturing, import and export, security, political leadership, comedians, and lots more. Visit www.kanasentertainment.com/IGIA Awards. Venue Amadio Event Center, Enugu. Red carpet, 3 p.m. prompt. IGIA Awards will hold on 23rd of November 2025. Official media partners Afia TV and radio. For sponsorship, call 091-6565-2031. IGIA is supported by MTN, Inosim Motors, Nono View Properties, Luke Media, Sublistus Media, and more. Igbo Global Icon Awards, promoting our culture and history.
Welcome back. This is still News Studio on Afia Television, and I am Ogochuko Wasai. And now looking at stories on the foreign scene, Donald Trump has signed into law a legislation regarding and requiring the release of government records on convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Trump stormed Washington over the weekend, reversing his months-long opposition to the Epstein's File Transparency Act and ensuring that it sailed through Congress on Tuesday in a rare show of bipartisan unity. The Republican president, a former friend of the late sex offender, announced on social media late Wednesday that he had signed the bill foregoing any media spectacle of the event. Meanwhile, Epstein, a wealthy financier, moved in elite circles for years, cultivating close ties with business tycoons, politicians, academics, and celebrities to whom he was accused of trafficking girls and young women for sex. And still on the foreign scene, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has disclosed that Turkey will host the next year's UN Climate Summit, while Australia will lead the conference negotiations among governments under a compromise deal talks in Brazil. Albanese said the two sides were now close to a deal that would see Turkey hosting COP31 as summit president, with a pre-COP event staged in the Pacific and Australia as president of negotiations. Also speaking, Australia Climate Change and Energy Minister Chris Bowen told newsmen at COP30 in Belém, Brazil, that compromise will achieve Australia's aims, and recall that Australia and Turkey both submitted bids in 2022 to host the annual conference of the parties, the world's main forum for driving climate action. And now to sports news. Africa's Premier Club competition returned this weekend as the group stages of the Total Energies CAF Champions League and Total Energies CAF Confederation Cup kick off across the continent. Rivers United face a formidable start to their group stage campaign, traveling to Cairo for a Saturday showdown against reigning champions Pyramids. Elsewhere, Al Ahly launched their quest for record-extending 13th Champions League crown when they host. And shutdowns begin their campaign against St. Leo Lupapo. Meanwhile, CAF has confirmed that 2 group stage match days will be completed before the Total Energies Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2025. The competition will also then pause for the Continental Showpiece and resume in January 2026. And lastly on the news, Nigeria have climbed 3 places to 38 in the latest FIFA Men's World Ranking released on Wednesday, a modest boost following a month that saw the Super Eagles contest 2 high-stake fixtures. The updated global standings, based on 149 international matches played since the various and previous rankings, reflects Nigeria's 4-1 victory over Gabon and their 1-1 draw with DR Congo, which ended in a 4-3 penalty defeat in the African World Cup playoff. Nigeria now hold over 1 million ranking points, placing them 5th in Africa behind Morocco, Senegal, Egypt, and Algeria. More to come on the news right after the short break. Please stay with us.
As markets begin, I don't show inside the market. And you know what? There are different markets within the region. I mean, the southeast and the south region. And this market, I'm going to bring all the story about them to you. Come on. Welcome. Thank you. How much? 5,000.
The price.
Apart from buying and selling, we still need to tell you stories about these markets.
The place.
The market. The people.
This is The Market. Premieres every Monday by 1 p.m. on Afia TV.
They say we're just traders. But have you met the Igbo innovator challenging the tech space here in Africa? Or the woman leading the construction space? Or the young man who has decided to turn this region into a tourist haven. This is about the dreamers, the doers, those who are changing the norms in the entrepreneurial space. This is Afia. Because that's the reason why we're here. That's the elephant in the room. What are the measures that business owners can take? How can they go about this? I'm Odera Collins, and I will be your host for this season. Join me on this journey as I bring you face to face with people building legacy businesses right here in the Orient.
Don't exhaust what you want to tell me.
This is a masterclass for tomorrow's entrepreneurs. Every story is a real life lesson. Every episode is a guide from people who have done it and are still doing it. We're not just doing business, we're changing the game, and we're showing you how to play it smart. Join us every weekday by 11:30 a.m. on Afia TV, DStv channel 254, GOtv channel 17, and FreeTV.
This is
Wale, ọkwa na ụwa bụ ụwa Chukwu, mana ọkwa ife ogbe a bụ ogbe anyị. Ka ife na-eme n'ogbe gị.
Inside ọkụ adọrọ, and the mmiri adọrọ.
Mana ebe a adịcha mma n'abalị. Ị na-aga jidesie fonu gị ike, jidesie ike maka ịnụ ifu ka ibe gị na-agba ọsị na-esibi ike.
This is ogbe, that is what we do right here. Every week we spotlight different ogbe. And also celebrate people from the street. These are my guys. These are my people. What I go? Ogbe. Like men. One day, this is what we do right here. Don't forget that we are live on every Thursday by 1 p.m. You want to go? Tune to channel 254 on DStv and channel 17 on GOtv. It's an Afia affair. You want to go? It's an Ogbe affair. One day.
Across the world, women are not just participating, they are transforming industry. Behind every success story, there is a vision, and behind every breakthrough, there is a woman who refuses to give up, turning challenges into opportunities and proving that there is no limit as to what they can achieve. My name is Marvelous Akwamada. Join us every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. right here on Afia Television to explore stories of these powerful women in the business world across the country.
Here at Afia TV News, we are intentional about the things we put together for your consumption. If it answers the basic news questions of where, when, how, and who, then we got you. Whether it is breaking news or stories around you, here we are intentional about news reportage, tailor-made just for you. Afia TV News. News today, news tonight, news all the time.
Start your day with your daily mix of business, lifestyle, and culture originating from the southeastern part of Nigeria.
Should we be exempting small businesses from taxes?
How do you feel about guys who do attachment or braid their hair or wear earrings?
It's a generational problem. A lot of young people feel, I think I know it, if I could Google it, I don't need to be mentored.
Originating from the southeastern part of Nigeria. If you're interested in views, opinions, arguments, discussions about national issues, then the AM show is the place to be. If you also would love to know what happens around the eastern part of Nigeria, then you do not want to miss this show Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. exclusively on Afia TV.
Welcome back to the news. This is still News Today on Afia Television, and I am Ogochukwu Osai. Now, in 1 week, just 1 week, Nigeria has witnessed alarming levels of violence. 25 schoolgirls abducted in Kebbi, worshippers killed and kidnapped in Kwara, soldiers ambushed, and multiple communities under attack. This incident raised serious questions about the evolving nature of insecurity, the capacity of our security architecture, and urgent need for a coordinated national response. And to discuss this issue, I've been joined by NNAMDI, economic and political correspondent. Good afternoon and welcome to the show.
Good to be here.
Thank you so much for joining me. Now let's get straight into the conversation. Beyond the headlines, beyond everything we see, what can we attribute these issues, these attacks to? What can we call the root cause of this attack?
It's very easy. It's government incompetence and ineptitude. And there's also the possibility of elements within the government, within security infrastructure being complicit. Now, while there is no overwhelming and direct evidence, you have to look at how easily these things happen, how much impunity there is, and the lack of consequences for these actions. That lets you know that over and over again, there is somewhere where, somebody is putting their thumb on the scale and rigging this in favor of the insurgents. Because, look at it. We are hearing afterwards that there were intelligence reports recently for the kidnap of the girls in Kebbi. And that despite that intelligence reports, nothing was done and the girls were kidnapped. This takes me back to Chibok girls, where there were reports that they said that there were insecurity reports, but they told the girls to still go and write the exams, and those girls were kidnapped from school. So you have a situation where, the students now are the collateral damage because of somebody playing games. And while all this is going on, while things are happening, rather than, tell us line of action, the government is playing propaganda games. President Tinubu has not addressed the nation. No state of emergency has been declared. All we see newspaper reports of service chiefs have been told to step up. We've not seen the service chiefs give address. We've not seen any serious, like wartime cabinets. Because whether we like it or not, we are at war. We have theaters of war all over the country. We are at war, even if it's within the country, with people who have invaded us. Now, we're not seeing any serious war cabinet. We're not seeing any strategic plan to attack this. What we are saying is, don't let America come. They're more interested in, telling lies. I see these clowns online. These people, many of whom are from the Buhari government, and some are still members of the APC close to this government. We have clowns. I get so frustrated when I see people like Bashir Ahmad, who was supposedly an SSA on digital, whatever, for President Buhari, coming out, to the point where we started seeing artificial intelligence rendered pictures and videos to discredit actual events. We saw the church in Kwara, an AI version has been circulated to claim that the video is AI. Yeah. The Christians that were killed there in Benue, the coffins were altered to look like they were empty. It's disgusting that propaganda is more important than human life. You're angry that people are calling some people Islamic terrorists and they are killing Christians because you're a Muslim. Your problem is not that people are dying. Your problem is that, these people should not be accused because we have the same religion. Yeah. That tells me that you either do not care about some people or you approve. Yeah. And in Bashir Ahmed's case, he's on record for calling himself, for self-identifying as an extremist, and also saying he believes in the death penalty for blasphemy. When Deborah was stoned and burnt alive in Sokoto for allegedly making a blasphemous content. So this is the country we have to live in. You have Che Gumi, who went to Turkey, is currently talking from different locations, saying that we should negotiate with bandits because they have areas they control and they can help us fight ISWAP. Okay. What are we talking about?
So now, in all of this that we've seen, just like you mentioned, the president hasn't said anything. We're not seeing any actual work being done. Can we say, what can we call this nature of insecurity? Can we say it's an organized something? Just like, the popular, should I call it a quote or a phrase that says that if a country is under attack and within 24 hours the government does not do anything, it means that the government's hand is in it. So can we apply that phrase in this situation?
The irony is that statement was made here in Nigeria by former head of state Sani Abacha. Yeah. That's the irony, because he knows. He was the head of state. He knows. Look, these things are coordinated. They are well organized. They are well planned. A lot of people in government have been involved. Kabiru Sokoto was arrested in Borno State government house. He was being treated for injuries after he escaped. At that point in time, the current VP was governor of Borno. He was, so We've seen things like this over and over again. We've seen, like we have Lieutenant Colonel Dauda, we had General Ihejirika. You've seen people who were fighting Boko Haram, and once they are performing, Ihejirika was removed. Dauda, who Operation Safe Haven, he had gotten a hold of that access, that Akwanga in Nasarawa, Kaduna to Forest in Plateau before you enter Kuru, then Jos in Plateau. What was supposedly, you know, that road that goes through Nasarawa, Southern Kaduna was supposedly one of the most dangerous roads. He had gotten a hold of it, then he was removed, and chaos returned. It's almost as if this is government-endorsed chaos. We saw the young lady in the Air Force who was accidentally killed by a colleague who wanted to say hello in the Air Force base. You know, it always seems as if when we have performing military people, they are removed. Okay, look at Brigadier General Uba now killed. A brigadier. Do you know what a brigadier is? Do you know how large a brigade is? Do you know how many companies? This guy had thousands of soldiers under his command. He gave his coordinates to military command, and the terrorists got the coordinates. I saw something stupid today where they said, oh, you should blame Sahara reporters, you should blame nonsense. There are people within the military architecture that are complicit, because there is no way that secure communication from General Uba to his high command should have been intercepted by terrorists. We've had situations where soldiers have been caught, you know, smuggling weapons and ammunition to Boko Haram. Exactly. We've seen military being told to cease fire when they had a chance to kill insurgents or drive them out. We have drones that have not yet mapped Sambisa forest, and we are claiming that we have the same drones that can stay in the air for 27 hours. Exactly. We are being told that we have those drones and we never map. I mean, let us stop lying to ourselves. People are more interested in the thematics of don't call it Christian genocide, call it farmer headers. Oh, don't call them terrorists, call them bandits. So, is that what is important? That's the real question. And they are saying we should bring Nigerian solutions to Nigerian problems. And my question becomes, what if the problem is Nigeria itself? How do you solve it?
Okay, someone would ask this question, what exactly is the need for this? What are they demanding? What are they asking? You know, if we see this continue to happen, different types, different styles of, you know, attack. What exactly is the demand?
You know, and that's a very good question, because if you look at all the theaters of war, when we had the Oduduwa separatists by Sunday Igboho, what they wanted was Oduduwa nation. When you have the IPOB agitators, what they're saying is we are being marginalized, we want to secede. You had the Niger Delta militants, what do they want? Control of their own resources. ISWAP, these so-called bandits, all these terrorists, ISIS, apparently as at last count, according to intelligence in the US, we have over 22 separatist groups operating in the north, not in Nigeria. Now, these groups want to create an Islamic caliphate in Nigeria. They've said it. It's not me saying it. So that means to say that anybody who is not going to convert should be wiped out. So when you come out and deny Christian genocide, when there's an unchecked and ever-growing, you know, radical Islam extremist, well-armed terrorist organization that is moving through cattle headers, moving through our margeries, moving through well-armed militias, well-equipped. An RPG costs tens of thousands of dollars, sophisticated ones. They are using them. They are using drones. They have brand new pickup trucks. Who is buying? These things have VIN numbers. You can track who is paying, who is buying it. Exactly. All of them seem to have bike motorcycles. You see them going through town. You see hundreds of bikes. We're seeing in Katsina, they are meeting with, what do you call it? They are meeting with bandits and having, I hate that word, they're meeting with terrorists and having meetings, so-called peace talks, days after. In fact, there's one that's so funny that one of the government officials who was at the meeting was among those who was killed not long after. Or was it the one in Zamfara where they were turbaning a radical Islamic terrorist leader, a wanted man, and a local government chairman was present at the ceremony? Who are we deceiving? What they want is the creation of a caliphate. They've said it. This is not NNAMDI Obaya saying it. They've said their intentions. You know? And, you know, people are saying it has a political angle because we look at the words of our leaders, past and present. You look at the words of Ahmadu Bello that the nation must be an estate of our great-grandfather, Usman Dan Fodio. Usman Dan Fodio's agenda was to dip the Quran into the Atlantic Ocean. It was jihad across Nigeria. So anybody who is telling you that we should stop saying jihad, we should stop saying Christian genocide. And, okay, if you don't want to say Christian genocide, you want to say jihad. What is jihad? Jihad is the elimination of kafirs, of infidels, of those who are not going to be Muslims. You will either pay the heavy taxes and be mistreated or be killed. So what we need to understand what they are saying. America is telling us, defining for us what we are doing, and we are saying it is not what it is. Okay, what is it? So what do you say? Farmer headers clash. So when those girls farmers,
Exactly.
When the churches in Plateau, the churches in Kwara, were they farming inside the church? Did cows enter the church? We knew the next they say, oh, Muslims are being killed too. And that's the part I hate. And I want us to be very clear about this. If I say in a town, on a campus, we have a problem with cultism. That cultism is spoiling the campus. There are too many cult boys. They are doing too many things, extortion, killings. Don't say that too. There's also rape. There's also theft. The presence of other crimes and the presence of other criminals does not negate the presence of one existing crime. So let us stop doing this. No, don't say it. There's also Muslims being killed. No, I say Muslims are not being killed. A lot of times, Muslims being killed are people who are refusing to, get on board with these nefarious acts. Other times, it is just subjugation of a community to turn their young boys into your members and to turn your young girls into their wives and slaves. So let us stop saying as if it is not what it is. And let us address it honestly.
All right, now, so how do we solve our problems as a nation? Is it time to, look at decentralizing security and, looking at maybe regional policing at this particular time?
Regional policing, most people are afraid of it, and I don't blame them. They are afraid that, governors will become overlords in their own states. You will not be able to control a government. But everything has a check and balance. First and foremost, you have police departments. Police departments are run at local government level and are funded. So that means that the governor has no business with the DPOs. The DPOs will be relating to their local government chairman. And the heads of police stations will be talking to councillors. Then you will now have the state police. The state police is now your state police department. That's the one the governor relates to with your police commissioner. Those ones can move in between local government chairmen. Then you will now have your federal police. In some countries, they are federal marshals. In the US, FBI. But you have local government, state, federal police. All of them have their jurisdiction. If a thief runs from Enugu into Anambra, federal police can step in. If a thief runs from Oji River, into Ezagu, immediately state police can step in. But within Ezagu Police Department is able to handle security there. And every local government chairman knows what his priorities are. And if he feels my community is safe, my neighborhood watch is enough, he can decide to reduce his security budget. But if you think you need more security, increase your security budget, allow more state security to be around. The security architecture will balance itself. Because right now we're talking about lack of police, but we had enough police to go and secure Wadata Plaza for PDP. See the tens of policemen, the police vehicles sophisticated. Every time there's NSAS protest or remembrance of NSAS protest or obedience, you will see the gear, the tear gas, everything. Where is all this when insurgents are moving? Where is all this when churches are being attacked? Where is that?
We also saw military men being ambushed and attacked just because they wanted
to go and rescue the girls. How did they get that intelligence that military men were going to use a specific route? This is what let us be honest. For us to solve this problem first and foremost, you see that's how the same people they couldn't fight. We've been seeing details every day of we've killed these bandits today. We've killed them. Why? Because America has opened their mouth and talked. International community is talking. Suddenly everybody is shaking. Their global legitimacy is on the line. They can freeze foreign accounts where they've kept money, things like that. That's what is really worrying some people, personal interest. So you need to hit them where it hurts. You need to hit finances, you need to hit money, you need to garnish accounts of senators, governors, everybody. Do things that will make them sit up first. Secondly, about decentralizing security, you're very right. We need to do that. If you look at now, particularly here in the Southeast, all of us are more conversant and comfortable with our local neighborhood security and neighborhood watch. Why?
Sure.
These guys are from the neighborhood. There are people in there. They know the people there. They know the strange faces. Imagine if you have state police and within your local government, your community, all the policemen there. If the policeman starts taking bribe and intimidating young people, you can go to his auntie's house.
Sure.
These are the things that we need to do. Decentralize it. Yes, there will be check and balance federal, state level, but it needs to be very, very, very decentralized. So everybody knows the real. When you bring a policeman from Zamfara and put him at 9th Mile, he doesn't know the people. He doesn't know them. It's not that he's a bad person, but the nuance and customs are alien to him, and people can use shortcuts and move around that you don't know. You brought in policemen that are not from that area. You say, they're policemen. Yeah, but this man spent 10 years in Bauchi, this one 10 years in Zamfara, this one 8 years in Oyo. You brought them. For their first 1 year in 9th Mile, they don't know what's going on. So you need people who know the region and know what to do. All right, that's the honest truth.
In 1 minute, I'd like to know your take. And, we've had different stories. People had a lot of conspiracies going on that, Tinubu, as I said, Tinubu, Trump coming into Nigeria is for another. He has a different, mindset. He has something he wants from Nigeria, not necessarily saving Nigeria from terrorists. So what's your take on that?
They also said that IPOB is pressuring them because somebody linked to IPOB put a letter in 2024 about it. As far back as 2020, Trump had already put Nigeria as a country of grave concern. It was 2020, his first administration. Let us not get it wrong. Trump had already looked at Nigeria as a problem. Since then, he had really realized that the APC was up to no good since 2020. And when I say he realized the APC was up to no good, not me indicting them, but because he knew how his own political opponents in the US had put them in office, and through the means they put them in. He understands the lengths they are willing to go to do anything. You say Trump is looking for your mineral resources. I'm not going to say whether he's not. I'm going to ask one question. What are you getting from the mineral resources?
Exactly.
Who is
the common man is not gaining anything.
Does not care. He'd rather be alive. I'm not getting mineral resources and I'm not safe. Somebody wants to come, make me safe. The mineral resources I'm not getting. If you take it, you should take it. That's their business. But that of course is fabrication, and because they can take it without having to come, without having to do this. Our leaders are corrupt enough. Give them deals, they will hand over our Commonwealth. We're already paying crude, using our crude to pay debt that of things we did not enjoy. People bought bulletproof Land Cruisers and Hilux, and we're paying the bill for it. So I'll throw all that talk out the window.
All right, thank you so much for your insight on this show. Thank you very much. And now to end the news, a recap of the top stories. Civil and public servants have been urged to embrace digital technology. And on the national front, Vice President Shettima has said President Tinubu is committed to KB schoolgirls rescue. In business news today, federal government has planned a 1.49 trillion naira electricity export revenue. And on the foreign scene, we told you Trump has signed a bill to release Epstein's files. And that's the much we can take on the news this afternoon. Many thanks for watching. Do well to follow us on all social media platforms at Afia TV Official. I am Ogochukwu Osai. Many thanks for watching.
It will not kill you to do away with your foe. All people should go into the bush and stop the advance of this army, or else they will kill you. Unquote. These words spoken by the defendants in those podcasts were not mere words, as they bear every traces of threats to harm people, including international representatives representing their nation in Nigeria. The said broadcasts were several in numbers, and defendants kept repeating his rhetorics that people will die if Biafra is not created. The defendant plan to commit the terrorist act did not only manifest in his broadcast, but was shown in a meeting he had with other Igbo people in the United States. At a World Congress, Igbo Congress meeting held at the 4 Points Hotel in Los Angeles, in the United States of America, as contained in Exhibit PWW. The defendant, while speaking to the audience, stated, and I quote, "We must not miss this golden opportunity we are bound to suffer in this time to come. You must come out to support what we are doing. We need guns and we need bullets. I know we love life so much. Without it, Hausa will overrun us. They have succeeded in imposing Okoroshan on us. They are coming. Boko Haram is coming in Igbo land." A female participant stood up to ask the defendant of his objective, as well as one need for weapons. The defendant responded, and I quote, "We now know that the best way to defend ourselves is to be armed, because Boko Haram is everywhere in called Nigeria. So So we need guns and bullets, and those of you in America will give it to us. Also, on the 22nd day of this month, something will happen called the blood moon. Most of you don't know that just before the Civil War, there was blood moon. There was blood moon in 67, and it only happens once in a while, because after this year, we will be free no matter what happens. If we don't get Biafra, everyone will live to die. We are not joking. His intention was quite clear. He believed only in violence as the solution to the creation of Biafra as a nation. And at the said World Igbo Congress, most of the participants were quite alarmed by the as his plans, and so they kept asking if he had considered the option of peaceful dialogue, to which the defendant was adamant that only violence could lead to the achievement of his aim. These threats of violence are nothing but terrorist acts, which was duly carried out by his followers, as will be seen later in this judgment. The defendant knew what he was doing while making these violent statements. He obviously had an objective, which one the face of it is political. That is secession of the state of Southeast, South, and some middle belt states from the Federal Republic of Nigeria to form Biafra. The defendant was also bent on achieving his objective with the use of violence, and he did might if his own people die in that process. As one of the crucial elements in establishing crime, the intention and the knowledge with which the defendant carried out the acts can be expressed by him. If not so expressed, can be deduced from his conduct or activities or other connected circumstances. See Berede and Federal Republic of Nigeria. Evidence led by the prosecution, particularly the broadcast contained in Exhibit P of acts preparation and importance of terrorist acts. The defendants had the opportunity to explain, but failed and deliberately that opportunity. Thus, he did not place any evidence before this court to explain the context of the said broadcast or any reason which may be exculpatory in his favor. Having failed and deliberately refused to enter defense or give explanation, the court will rely on the uncontroverted evidence of the prosecution. This court therefore holds that the prosecution has established count one of the charge beyond reasonable doubt. Consequently, the defendant is hereby convicted in respect of count one. With respect to count two of the charge, the defendant was charged with making a broadcast received and heard in Nigeria with intent to intimidate the population, issue deadly threats that anyone who flouts set a sit-at-home order to write his will, as a result of which banks, schools, markets, shopping malls, fuel stations domiciled in the eastern states of Nigeria were not open for businesses. Citizens and vehicular movements in the eastern states of Nigeria were grounded. This offense is also punishable under Section 1(2)(b) of the Terrorism Prevention Act. The ingredients are similar as contained in count 1, except that the prosecution must establish that the defendant indeed issued a threat to anyone who flouted his sit-at-home order in the southeastern state of Nigeria. The evidence as led by the prosecution shows that the defendant issued a sit-at-home order wherein he threatened the residents of the southeast states from going out. He further threatened that any church, markets, schools, banks or shops which opened will be destroyed. This was the purpose of his broadcast of 30th day of May 2021, where he stated that he had an announcement to make of the entire Southeast. He stated exactly at 9 minutes 10 seconds in the broadcast contained in Exhibit PWW-DOS, and I quote, "Tomorrow being the 31st day of May, there is complete lockdown, no church, no markets, and nobody should be seen outside tomorrow. I do not want violence. I do not want anybody to resort to violence. I condemn it completely and totally. We do not want to spill the blood of the innocent. Therefore, I am urging restraint across board. I am urging our people to honor the memory of people who died. There will be no school, no church, markets, banks, car on the roads. There will be complete shutdown. If you want to be alive, do not come out tomorrow. What I'm saying is that do not come out tomorrow. If you value your life, there will be complete shutdown of Biafra land tomorrow. Any community that allow people to pass tomorrow will be in trouble. Anybody in any car or lorry except in ambulance will be in trouble. I know some people are very foolish, trying to open their shop. Enugu, Umuahia, Abakaliki people, you are very stupid. Tomorrow we will show you, unquote. This statement at first sounded peaceful and even seemed as if he was only persuading people to honor the memory of some people. However, issuing threats to those who might want to obey his order, that might not want to obey his order. The people of the Southeast are Nigerians, and I take the share notice substantially are Christians who go to church, and merchants that are into trade, and their children who were threatened against going to church, their places of business and schools. This cause wonders. If this can be said to be agitation for self-agitations, unequivocally, I say no. The people of the southeast of Nigeria are entitled to their right to personal liberty, freedom of movement under Section 35 and Section 41 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended. The said section provides, and I quote, "Every person shall be entitled to his personal liberty, and no person shall be deprived of such liberty, save in the following cases and in accordance with the procedure permitted by law. A. In execution of the sentence and order of court in respect of criminal offence of which he has been found guilty. B. By reason of his failure to comply with the order of court and in order to secure the fulfillment of any obligation imposed upon him by law. C. For the purpose of bringing him before a court in execution of order of court upon reasonable suspicion of his who has not attained the age of 18 years for the purpose of his education or welfare. E. In the case of persons suffering from infectious or contagious disease, person of unsound mind, person addicted to drugs or alcohol, vagrants for those people or purpose of those care or treatment or protection of community. F. For the purpose of preventing the unlawful entry of any person to Nigeria or of affecting the expulsion or unlawful removal from Nigeria of any person or the taking of proceedings relating there, provided that a person who is charged with an offence and who has been detained in lawful custody awaiting trial shall not continue to be kept in such detention for a period longer than the maximum period of imprisonment prescribed for him. Section 41 provides, every citizen is entitled to move freely throughout Nigeria, to reside in any part thereof, and no citizen of Nigeria shall be expelled from Nigeria or refuse entry thereby or exit therefrom. They are also entitled, unquote, they are also entitled to their right to freedom of religion as expressed under Section 38 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The right to personal liberty, movement, religion are complementary of each other. God jealously guides these rights, and they are basic rights which belong to them as being human beings. These rights are so fundamental. Kindly see, my Lord Agagu JCA has initiated on this in Okafo versus Lagos State Government and another citation supply. The people of the Southeast cannot be ordered to sit at home by a person, especially for someone who is not a legally recognized official of the federal government or an official of any of the states. The only person entitled to restrict movement of persons within Nigeria is the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria under emergency power under Section 305 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended. The President can order for a curfew area where there is a crisis or natural disaster. The defendant is not the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, thus lacks any power to so declare a seat at home in any part of the country. The defendant arrogated to himself power to he lacks, and with the threat of violence, order the residents of the southeastern states to stay at home or face the consequences of their disobedience. This is an unconstitutional act which is subversive and amount to nothing more than a terrorist act. It is also a notorious fact that the people of Southeast have been subjected to sit-at-home threats on Mondays for years now. PW4, who stated that he was stationed in the Southeast, especially in Imo State for some years, gave evidence that Monday sit-at-home is a usual occurrence wherein the town are deserted, even the farmlands. PW4 also gave evidence on the death of one Ahmad Goodluck, a former aide to the former President Goodluck Jonathan, that the said Ahmed Goodluck had been killed by airport meant in portion to the order of defendants. Ahmad Goodluck was trying to catch a flight out of Owerri on the 30th day of May 2021 when he ran into a checkpoint by airport and was shot dead. PW4 stated that he was one of those who got to the scene first. It must be noted that 30th of but notwithstanding, it leads to the death of a person. Is a medical report from the Nigerian Police Medical Services, Owerri. The report is dated 18th July 2021 and it states, to whom it concerned, medical report. Late Ahmed Goodluck Ahmed, hospital number. The victim allegedly shot dead by hoodlums suspected to be IPOB/ECN members on 30th October 2021 at about 7 hours along Airport Road, Owerri. Picture of lifeless man seen, body of deceased buried, information. The above medical reports, duly signed by the medical practitioner, clearly states the immediate cause of the death of sent to the defendant as leader of IPOB and ECN. The action of the defendant cannot be excused under any circumstances. The of a thief at home without any constitutional power, especially the accompanied by the threat, is a terrorist act. The defendant did not present any evidence to rebut this case, the case of the prosecution. Consequently, he admits the evidence as presented by the prosecution. The prosecution has successfully proved count 2 beyond reasonable doubt. Consequently, the defendant is hereby convicted of count 2. With respect to count 3, the defendant is charged with professing to be a member and leader of indigenous people of Biafra IPOB, a proscribed organization in which thereby committed an offense contrary to and punishable under Section 16 of the Terrorism Prevention Act 2013. Section 16 of the Terrorism and Prevention Amendment Act provides, and I quote, any person who is a member or professes to be a member of terrorist group commits an offense and is liable on conviction to imprisonment for a time not less than 21 years. The ingredients of the offense from the above provide provisions are 1. The defendant must be a person. The defendant must be a member or professes to be a member of a terrorist group. 3. The terrorist group must have been proscribed as at the time the defendant's claim or professes membership of such group. As earlier established, defendant is a human being. There is no doubt about that. With respect to second ingredients, prosecution has led evidence showing that the defendant was not just a member, but he was the leader of a terrorist organization known as Indigenous People of Biafra. Indeed, in the broadcast of 16th May 2021, as contained in Exhibit PWW, the defendant, in the beginning of the clip, stated this, and I quote, "My name is NNAMDI KANU. I am the leader of Indigenous People of Biafra and director of Radio Biafra Television. I will remain a loyal servant of the people," unquote. He further stated around 51 minutes mark into the video. If God is on our side, which I know He is, the army of Nigeria will die in Biafra land. Everybody will die. I will be the one leading it. By God's grace, everything called Nigeria will perish in Biafra land. The world must be prepared for what is to come, unquote. In several other broadcasts, the defendants admitted being the leader of indigenous people so far before this court, showing that the defendant is not member and in fact leader of the same group. The defendant from the evidence before this court also possessed power to order the coordinator of IPOB in a broadcast dated 11th May 2021 in Exhibit PWW. The defendants, while commenting on the meeting of Southern Governor held in Asaba, stated around 35 minutes to the residents. While played is, and I quote, "Concerning the lockdown announced yesterday, I urge all people of Biafra and all those in Biafra land to disobey the lockdown order given by the Geological Republic of Nigeria. The reason is because they want to use the dead of the night to move their fighters into our forest, because we have defeated their foot soldiers. We must resist this stupid lockdown, and it will not hold in Biafra. I am calling on all the coordinators, deputy coordinator of ESN and IPOB not to sleep in their houses today, but to look for somewhere else to stay. Because now we are in the trenches. Now you will know what is freedom fighting for. It is not comfortable. It is not rosy. Do not sleep at home. Do not sleep at home. Change your phone and even your phone itself. The defendant no doubt belongs to the group and belongs to the professing to be a member. He is a leader of the group with the influence of commanding the coordinators of the group. Not only IPOB, but even Eastern Security Network, which is the arm wing of IPOB. In a broadcast of 12th December 2020, the defendant made an announcement in inaugurating the military group known as Eastern Security Network, which is the arm wing of the indigenous people of Biafra. He stated, and I quote, "We have cowards, spineless idiots as governors. They have given over our land to the Janjaweed to occupy in perpetuity. This very generation, this very IPOB will not tolerate it. Not now, not tomorrow, not forever. We will rather all perish and die than to allow our land to be taken over by the Janjaweed. This is a warning to all the governors who are conspiring due to one political to give our land to infidel. These invaders come from Gambia, Mali, from the Republic and from Chad. According to Governor of Katsina State, Erifai, therefore, we are setting up the Eastern Security Network to combat the excesses of these vagabonds, criminals from crossing the day along the same line as Amoteku, the one set up by Metiala. What we are launching before the world today is Eastern Security Network, not a Biafra army, and we will let the world know when the army is too much. But for our present purposes, we are setting it up to defend our land, Biafra against Maronda from the Shahid and the Islamic incursion led by terrorists, Fulani, to be precise. In the coming days, you shall see them in their uniform, performing the critical issue of providing security for our land, unquote. The defendants who was really being agitated continue in the broadcast by stating, no governor in the southeast and south-south have been able to form a security outfit. Therefore, IPOB must defend our land to the very last blood. We shall not stop, not now, not tomorrow, not forever, until our land is get rid of many of these Fulani terrorists. In the third video broadcast, there was a side video of the man of the Eastern Security Network dressed in black with black flag. Eastern Security Network. This is therefore no doubt that the prosecution has established the second ingredient beyond reasonable doubt. With respect to the third ingredient, the evidence before this court shows that IPOB is a proscribed group. I take judicial notice of Section 2 under Section 122 of the Evidence Act of the order made by my learned brother Nyako J in suit number FAC/ABJ/CS/A71/2017 between Attorney General of the Federation versus Indigenous People of Biafra, today dated 20th September 2017, wherein the activities of Indigenous People of Biafra were prescribed. The said order iterized into PWJ, which is the Federal Republic of Nigeria Official Gazette number 99 in volume 104, dated 20th September 2017, titled Terrorism Prevention Order number Terrorism Prevention Order of 2017. The Gazette reads, and I quote, notice is hereby given that by the order of Federal High Court in suit number FAC/ABJ/CS/A71/2017 dated 20th September 2017, as per the schedule to this notice, the activities of Indigenous People of Biafra are declared to be terrorist and illegal in any part of the country, Nigeria. especially in the southeast, south region of Nigeria, as prescribed pursuant to Section 2 of the Terrorism Prevention Act 2011 as amended. 2. Consequently, the general public is hereby warned that any person or group of persons participating in any manner whatever in any form of activities involving or concerning the collective intention or otherwise of the said group will be violating the provision of the Terrorism Prevention Act 2011 as amended and liable to prosecution. The import of the above is that beginning from the commencement date of 20th September 2017, any person claiming to be a member of IPOB commits a terrorist act. The defendant, by his broadcast of 11th May 2021, 12th December 2020, professed to be a member of proscribed group. Thus, he is in breach of Section 16(1) of the Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act 2013. Consequently, he is hereby convicted of Count 3. As or Count 4 and 5, which are closely related. The defendant is charged with inciting members of the public in Nigeria to hurt and kill Nigeria security personnel and their family members, thereby committing offence under Section 1(2)(h) of the Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act 2013. The section provides who knowingly outside Nigeria, direct or indirectly, willingly incites, promises, or induces any other person by any means whatsoever to commit the act of terrorism in or any of the offences referred to in the act, commits an offence under the act and is liable to be commissioned to maximum of death sentence. The ingredients of the offence which the prosecution must establish beyond reasonable doubt are: 1. The defendant must be person or body corporate. 2. The defendant must have directly or indirectly incite, promise, or induce other person by any means whatsoever to commit the terrorism act. 3. The defendant must have directly or indirectly incited, promise, or induce other person by any means whatsoever to commit the terrorist act willingly or knowingly. The defendants have been established to be a human being by the prosecution. But the second ingredient is important to understand what incitement means. According to the Supreme Court per DStv of blessed memory in CASA and the state citation supplied, hold and I quote, an encouragement here means an act of making someone to feel brave or confident enough to do something by giving active approval in support of the crime. Incitement also have the element of encouragement. By incitement, the person is provoked by a strong passion or feeling to commit an offense. The word set is the word of quite a number of synonyms. The two words set on connotes the resemblance of causing to attack or chase, like one may be, say, the fisherman prepare the bait to set on the fish. It also has the element of antagonism. And instigation, the act of instigating, means something happened by the actions or conduct of a person who is the starter. By the act of instigation, the co-accused is propelled or gingered to commit an offense, unquote. Likewise, the online Oxford Dictionary defines incitement as follows: the action of provoking unlawful behavior, urging someone to behave unlawfully, unquote. The Cambridge Dictionary also defines incitement as follows, and I quote, the act of encouraging someone to do or to feel something unpleasant or violent, unquote. Drawing from the above definitions, the incitements involve provoking or instigating people to do an unlawful act and in their instant terrorist acts. The prosecution has led evidence showing that the defendants made broadcasts inciting public to take up arms against the security personnel in Nigeria to kill them and their family members. The broadcast of 24th day of October 2020, as contained in the DStv, the defendant said, and I quote, Radio Biafra is now in the hands of the enemy of our freedom. I don't know how much they paid for it, but I know that Britain spent over 4.8 billion a few days ago to suppress what is happening. That is what they have done. I told you a while back that Britain was now in charge of what is happening in the zoo, and you thought that I was joking. They have now come with their clamp down, but they are now going, they are not going to succeed. Radio Biafra belongs to us, but why is it not playing out our program right now, unquote? I am telling you, you people, to go to the bush. Whenever you see a military convoy, you attack them. Whenever you see a police convoy, attack them. They are human beings and they also bleed. Any person with a police uniform or any army in any army uniform is an enemy of the people, unquote. Around 57 minutes to this video mark, the defendant stated, and I quote, they came to Enugu. It is surprised that after British High Commissioner came to Enugu, they opened fire on protesters in Lagos. You should know, you should not by chalk that the woman is a devil, a big devil. She too we get a comeuppance, unquote. The defendant was referring to Katrina Lee, the British High Commissioner at that time. The defendant also said, from what will happen in Aba between today and tomorrow, we tell you how serious we are. Every police officer with uniform, once you come out from your house with police uniform, you are dead man walking, unquote. Callers were calling in from places like Aba, like toll gates and other parts of Lagos, Ibadan, Abuja, Jos, Afia State. Even one Jacob called from Nasarawa State. And the defendants kept giving orders for these callers and other listeners to kill every police and soldier. The defendant even told the people how to build an improvised bomb. He asked them to go to a filling station to get and put a rag in it. Then they should set the rag ablaze and hold it at soldiers. In responding to a caller call from Abuja, in that same broadcast of 20th October 2021, the defendant, while inciting his listener to attack the relative or security personnel, stated, and I quote, that every commander they have given his name, feeds, find his children. I want to get him in trouble. When they take me to court and ask why I say such thing, I will tell them why. Find the commander. His name is Ifu Umaka. Find his children. Find his children. The commander of those on the ground. Find their children. Very, very important. Find their children. Unquote. If defendants went for that, and I quote, start attacking the police, take their guns, use them against them, manufacture motor tours, curtain, manufacture bombs to bomb them, unquote. The defendant asked about 2 hours, 44 minutes, 35-second mark, while concurring with a caller who informed him of the intention of him, other IPOB members, to burn down the Ezima police station, stated, "Not only one, I want every police station in Aba to be destroyed, completely destroyed, and burn them down. It is an order destroying them completely. Anybody who sees them with police uniform, kill the person. Nigeria wants anarchy. We will give them anarchy." Unquote. In another broadcast, the defendant, while responding to the caller, stated this: "You people must devise strategy to defeat the army. There are some guns in Edo State right now as we speak. Use those guns to kill 1 or 2 of their army officers. Take their guns and begin to kill other people as well. Begin because they cannot sustain this protest for 3 weeks. There are guns in the Edo State already. Kill the army whenever you see them. Take their guns and kill them." Unquote. The incitement of the defendant for the public to kill security personnel is quite clear from his bureaucracy. Not only incitement to kill security officers, the defendant even went as far as inciting the public to destroy all properties of federal government during the NSAS protest of 20th October 2020. The defendant, in another live video dated 20th October 2020, the defendant, while responding to calls from his foot soldier during the NSAS protest, stated, and I quote, "If you leave the Janjaweed and their agents the way they operate, if you leave them, believe believe me, you will suffer. That the hotel must be brought down. I did not say set ablaze. It must be demolished. As an example to the rest, if you have not dealt with Enugu in Lagos, the other will not learn their lesson. Enugu is an evil man." The hotel referred here to is Oriental Hotel in Lagos, which the defendants alleged belonged to Enugu. While responding to a caller, the defendant urged his callers to ambush the security forces during the protest and cut them off. He said, and I quote, "Go to the bush. You need to cut them off from the back, ambush them, take their guns from them and kill them. They are animals and not human beings. They may be wearing uniform like police or soldier, but they are animals. Disarm them and kill them. If you allow them to escape, your life is over, and I want Lagos Airport to be on flame. Breach the perimeter fence and burn down the Lagos Airport. If you have double barrel or pistol, go to the airport and burn it down. Set Muritala Mohammed Airport on fire. Set it ablaze right now. You are dealing with animals. Fulani Janjaweed, they do not reason." It is important to state that the said hotels and Muritala Mohammed Airport and other property in Lagos, they are not in the north, where it seems to hate with faction. Even his own fellow Igbo people have property in Lagos, with is said to be agitation for self-determination. The threats and destruction which follow were corroborated in Exhibit PWD2, which is a pictorial pictures of the assessment of damage done to the Nigerian police alone in the state of southern states. So many of these police stations and even police officers were killed as a result of the incitement by the defendant. Also, Exhibit PWD2A, which is a compilation of death reports and certificates of death of security officers in the report, the number of police officers who were killed was given as 128. Military officers were 37. Other security officers are 10. Number of police stations attacked were 164. INEC facilities destroyed were 9 in number. This clearly shows the extent of damage caused by the defendants through his inciting statements. Another caller called into the program informing the defendant that he was at Oshodi Apapa Expressway and that they are killing them. The defendant, annoyed by this information, stated, for, and I quote, "How many police did you kill? I don't want to hear that. They are killing you. How many did you kill?" The caller then responded that they have bombed the Orile police stations and Ilasa police station. The defendant then told the caller not to wave the green, white, green flag of Nigeria, but a blood-stained flag with the color green, white, red. He further responded to another caller by saying, "What I want them to do is to set ablaze the United building along Marina on fire. Every federal government property in Lagos should be burnt. That is what is going to be signal to the world that people have had enough. I want every federal government building in Lagos to be on fire. Every federal government vehicle or anything belonging to federal government, burn it. Go to the Muritale Mwale airport, burn it. How many soldiers do they have? Manufacture your own weapons and ambush." The result of this incitement is the killing of several military officers, police officers, DSS officers. The incitement also led to the destruction of several police stations in Lagos across the southern states of Nigeria. According to PW5, he led a team of officers to investigate the destructions and killing of the security personnel that occurred during the EndSARS protest of 20th October 2020, as contained in the PWD2 and the PWD2A. The results were quite alarming. The court is mindful not to attribute all the happening during the EndSARS protest on the defendant. However, there is no doubt that the incitement by the defendant contributed largely to the killing of security operatives as well as destruction of public properties. The defendant incited people to destroy property such as the Lassa police station, other police stations and properties of the government. The evidence before this court shows that the said properties were actually destroyed, such as the Lassa police station, the High Court of Lagos in Igoshere, as well as BRT buses belonging to Lagos State government in Enugu. PW2 also testified that military couples were killed by those incited by the defendants in Olu in Imo State. In addition, PW4 stated that his driver and one of his tactical officers were killed as a result of the incitements. The action of the defendants were clear, as it was aimed to cause anarchy by killing security operatives in Nigeria, which would in turn lead to breakdown of law and order. The defendant had an evil intention to wreak havoc on the people and government of Nigeria. All these actions consistent with agitation for self-determination. The actions to this, the answer to this is in negative. His violent outbursts has instigations of the public to attack and kill security officers. Nigeria, without provocation, was downright barbaric and without any conscience whatsoever. The defendant did not feel any concern for the family of the officers who were slain. He termed himself a tyrant who could take life anytime he pleased. Such person cannot be allowed to remain in society of sane minds. The instigation to kill other women was incomprehensible, and this court hereby condemned it. But I must say that the evidence extracted is minute compared to the avalanche of, I must say that evidence extracted in this judgment is minute and very small to the avalanche of evidence and broadcast before this court by the defendant. The defendant made extremely threatening statements, incited people to violence. The prosecution has successfully discharged its burden of proving counts 5, 4, and 5 beyond reasonable doubt. Consequently, the defendant is hereby convicted of the said counts 4 and 5. Now count 6. For count 6, the defendant is charged with the offense of making a broadcast receipt terrorism against the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the people of Nigeria, in which he is directed members of the indigenous peoples of Biafra in a proscribed organization to manufacture bombs, thereby committing an offense punishable under Section 1(2)(f) of the Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act 2013. Section 1(2)(f) of the Terrorism Prevention Act 2013 provides a person or body corporate who knowingly in or outside Nigeria directly or indirectly, willingly assists, facilitates, organizes, or directs the activities of person, organization engaged in any act of terrorism. The ingredients of the offense expected to be established are: 1. The defendant must be a person or body corporate. 2. The defendant must have assisted, facilitated, organized, or directed the activities of person or organization engaged in terrorist activities. 3. The defendant must have willingly assisted, facilitated, organized, or directed the activities of persons or organization engaged in terrorist acts. The defendant herein have been established to be a human being. As to the second and third ingredient, the prosecution has led evidence to show that the defendant has directed members of the terrorist organization to build bombs, other explosives in order to attack security operatives. Indeed, in furtherance of his terrorist actions and following the incitement of persons to kill defendant security operatives, the defendant also directed his members to build explosive devices, particularly motor-fuel cocktail. At about 1 hour 30 minutes 36 seconds of the broadcast of 20th October 2020, as contained in the PWW, the defendant, while responding to a caller about ENSA's protest, stated, and I quote, "Now, this night, I want graduates to go to work, graduates of chemical engineering, those who were born as engineers, manufacture any ordnance you can, because they are coming to kill you anyway, regardless of what you do. Go and manufacture any ordnance. I am calling on the youth in the Middle Belt, and I want any bridge that they can use to reinforce to be destroyed. They are going to come from the Middle Belt. This night, we have engineers everywhere, people who are intelligent. Go back now and give us your own version of motor cocktail. We must destroy them before they destroy us. Every youth tonight, anybody with a police uniform, anywhere, especially in Aba, in Lagos, once you have police uniform or any army uniform, that person is your enemy. Attack them, because if you don't, they will kill you. If you are a graduate of physics or chemistry, no sleep for you tonight. Go and manufacture something to destroy the police and every army position starting from this night. Unquote. Three said Bogas. While responding to a caller named Jacob from Nasarawa State, the defendant even told the people how to build an improvised bomb. He asked them to go to filling station to get fuel in a bottle put a rag in it, that then they should set the rag aflame and hurt it at a soldier. According to Wikipedia.com, that I accessed at 1 a.m. on 20th November 2025 is a hand-drawn incendiary weapon consisting of a fragile container filled with flammable substances equipped with a fuse. In use, the fuse attached to the container is lit and the weapon is thrown, scattering on impact. Unquote. The online Britannica dictionary defines Molotov cocktails as a crude bomb, typically consisting of bottle filled with inflammable liquids and a wick that is ignited before throwing. Unquote. Applying the above definition, the directive of the defendant to members of the group to build improvised bombs such as Molotov cocktail is indeed a terrorist act. Molotov cocktail is capable of causing explosions, damage like any other bomb, which aim is to cause destruction. This directive, like other directive, is a manifestation of anarchy-minded of the defendant, which he set out to express through his Biafra radio, which he claimed to be the founder and director. The defendant, through the radio Biafra platform, carried out so many terrorist attacks which led to the destruction of lives and property in Nigeria. The defendant is not only confirmed to local terrorists, but I oath without hesitation that he is an international terrorist, flowing from his threat to attack British High Commission and American Embassy, as well as his incitements against the British High Commissioner to Nigeria at the time, Catherine Lyons, a known woman of peace. In a broadcast of 21st October 2020, the defendant stated thus, and I quote, "Radio Biafra is now in the hand of the enemy of our freedom. I don't know how much they paid for it, but I know that Britain spent about 4.8 billion a few days ago to support what is happening. That is what they have done. I told you a while back that Britain was now in charge of what is happening in the zoo, and you thought that it was a joke. They have now come with their clampdown but they are not going to succeed. Radio Biafra belongs to us, but why is it not playing our program right now? Unquote. The defendant also stated, I am telling you people to go to the bush. Wherever you see a military convoy, you attack them. Whenever you Catherine Lyons, the British High Commissioner, he stated, and I quote, they came to Enugu. It is a surprise that after the British Commissioner came to Enugu, they opened fire on protesters in Lagos. You should not be shocked. The woman is dead, is Zimil, a big demon. She is too. We go come repentance. And 1 hour, 8 minutes, 45 seconds mark. The defendant also stated, and I quote, is the same thing that Britain did to Biafra in what they are doing to us now, media blackout. Do you want the world to report this issue, take over the British High Commission. That is all. Take over the consulate in Lagos. Take over the one in Abuja. Every newspaper in the world will report it in the morning. If you march on the British High Commission in the morning, front pages in the world will carry it, and the world will ask why is British Commission in Abuja and Lagos under occupation by Nigerian youth. Then it is over. I'm giving you a master strategy of how you should be done. In a formation of 3 lines, there is something I want you to do. I'm announcing it on air so you understand. People should go to every weather shop around you. You know those who build bulletproof door. I don't care how much it costs. We will pay. Everybody who is a welder who builds bulletproof, people should take those doors and put nails in front of them and stand in front of protesters so that bullets cannot go through. Push the door, get the weapon and deal with them. When you are marching to the British High Commission tomorrow, form 3 lines. They will have the army surrounding them. They will send a cable to London that British High Commission in Lagos is under attack. They will be forced to release it. Then the whole world will know that a revolution is going on. Without that, you cannot succeed. Even recently, in this courtroom, on the 7th day of November 2025, when the matter came up before this court, the court wondered the kind of malice and hatred which the defendant had for Britain. I will produce same part of the proceedings of that day hereunto. Defendants, he says, there are issues at play which my Lord has not able to overcome, which even the prosecution has not even attempted to overcome. My Lord, are you asking me to go into the doors to defend myself on a non-existing law? If you can state that for the record, my Lord, I will be most grateful that you are going to try me or ask me to enter my defense where no law exists. Because if that is the position, my Lord, that means that the outcome of very trial is predetermined. A man of my station and caliber cannot be tried without any valid law. It is impossible, my Lord. I will tell you why. This was the case. This very case is bigger than this court. The case of mine started in 1957 when some brave men and women in this very country dared to ask the British to leave. The funniest thing is that all of them that pioneered that very effort, they all went to jail and were killed. Course, I'm learning this now. Then ask the British to leave. Defendants. Yes, in 1957, Dr. Anthony Nao moved a motion at the house in Lagos asking the white men to go and leave us alone. From that day, trouble started. Even before then, the like of Abad Macaulay was jailed, honorable men that fought for the indignity of the black race. Because they want me convicted. They told me so. Absolutely, my God. Absolutely, 100%. They told me. They said, I will come to court to see, to hear your case. When you take your plea, when prosecution opens, then their case, when prosecution opens their case, when you start your cross-examination, when they refuse your no case submission, I am telling you what happened a year and a half ago when you file your no case submission and it's rejected. You will not go into trial. You will be there during the verdict. You will be there during conviction. The court now responded. Let me just clarify this. It is also on record. You said that the British said that 1 year and a half ago that I was not the one presiding here. I want to say this, that I know my brother too, that was assassinated. Ascertain it will not get into that level of having anything to do, anything, because the way you are putting it. I want to say this. I do not have any relationship with the British because of the protest. The defendant at about 2 hours, 24 minutes, 50 seconds, mark of the video of 24th day of October 2020 broadcast in NZPWW stated, American embassy is shut down. Why won't they shut down? People are protesting. This statement regarding the embassy of United States of America is quite loaded. The statement could mean several things, none which are palatable or peaceful. What exactly does the defendant mean by the American embassy is shut down? Was he trying to attack the embassy if it has not shut down as a result of protest, or incite others to do same as he did in British embassy? The inference to be drawn from the statement is that the defendant meant to do harm to the embassy of the United States by attacking or invading the embassy. Under international law, the premises of an embassy or high commission of a foreign nation is deemed invaluable. That means that even though the land belongs to a host country, it cannot invade such premises. See Article 22 of the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relationship, or Article 22 of the Convention on Diplomatic Relations, 1961. It provides thus: the premises of missions shall be in the agents of the receiving state may not enter them except with the consent of the head of the mission. 2. The receiving state is under special duty to take all appropriate steps to protect the premises of the mission against or damage, and to prevent any disturbance of the peace of the mission or impairment. 3. The premises furnish other properties thereon, and the means of transport of the mission shall be immune from search, requisition, attachment, or execution on courts. Thus, from their oath, it can be said that the defendant incited for people to invade British High Commission and is threat against British High Commissioner, Catherine Delf, and American international terrorism. Supports street prevention and 2013, which provides and any person who kidnap, attacks on persons or liberty of an person, carries violent attack on official premises, accommodation, or international person in a manner likely to endanger his person or liberty. C. Threatening to commit any such attack, commit an offense, and is liable on conviction to life imprisonment. The High Commissioner is an international protected person, being the representative of the British government in Nigeria as well as other staff of High Commission and Embassy of the United States of America, leaving the defendant to continue his terrorist activity who have led to an international incident involving Nigeria and other foreign nations who are good partners with Nigeria. The question to ask again is whether bombing or attacking embassies of high commissions constitutes an actor consistent with agitation for self-determination. Again, the answer is no. All this act goes to show that the criminal tendency of the defendant as well as show concrete proof of his terrorist acts. Therefore, I hold without hesitation that the prosecution has successfully established count 6 against the defendant. Consequently, he is hereby convicted of count 6 of the charge. With respect to count 7 of the charge, the defendant is charged with importing into Nigeria and keeping in Uguluzo local government of Anambra State within the jurisdiction of this honorable court a radio transmitter items which he declared as used household items, thereby committing an offence contrary to Section 2A of Custom and Excise Management Act Cap C45 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004. The dispute as to which law provides for the offence in Camp 7 has been conclusively decided by the Supreme Court in case of Federal Republic of Nigeria versus KANU Supra, where my Lord M.L. Gaba, DStv, while reading the lead judgment held, and I quote, reading of the details of the facts stated as constituting the offence mentioned or named therein would clearly and undoubtedly reveal that it deals with the offence punishable under the provision of Section 47(2)(a) of the Custom, Excise and Management Act, Cap C45, Laws of Federation of Nigeria 2004, which provides as follows: if a person A imports or causes to be imported any goods in a country holding goods of different descriptions, or he shall be sentenced to imprisonment for 5 years without the option of fine. It follows in the above circumstances that the mention of the Criminal Code Act as in Chapter C45 or Chapter C45 in Laws of Federation of Nigeria 2004 is a mere mistake in place of correct law. The Customs and Excise Management Act, under which the facts alleged to constitute an offence in Count 15, is punished and punishable. The offence in Count 15 is consequently recognizable and grounded in an extant existing law in Nigeria and described, unquote. Thus, the court will follow the decision of the Supreme Court and decide Count 7 based on Section 47 of the Custom and Excise Management Act. The ingredients of the offence are: the defendant must have imported or caused to be imported goods concealed in a container. 2. The imported concealed goods must have been of a different descriptions. The evidence led by the prosecution through PW4 is that the defendant imported into Nigeria a radio transmitter known as Stamp 550L concealed in container which contained used household items which he described as such. PW4 stated that indeed the Department of State Service had tracked the transmitter of Radio Biafra to a compound in Umuduzino in Ihiala, local government of Anambra State, belonging to one Benjamin Madugulu. The officer secured the search warrant as the PWT and proceeded to the compound where they recovered the container. Prior to going to the scene, PW4 testified that he watched a video of the defendant inspecting the container and the transmitter with Benjamin Modugugu. The court visited where the container was kept in the custody of the DSS and same was admitted in evidence in the presence of the defendant as exhibit PWY, and he did not object to same. The container itself contains several household items which appear to be covered for the transmitter concealed in it. The projection has led evidence to show that the transmitter was smuggled into the country without sale being declared to customs. That the cover of the household item was used to disguise his true content. The surrounding facts also show that the purpose for which the defendant intended to use the transmitter was to broadcast program on radio Biafra, and this makes it conceal the transmitter. This is also not. There is also no evidence that Radio Biafra is registered with Nigeria Broadcasting. As a consequence of resting his case on the prosecution did not call any witness to report the evidence of the prosecution, neither did he leave any evidence to counter the evidence of the prosecution. There is no evidence before this court stating the transmitter was lawfully imported into Nigeria. The defendant had the duty to present evidence and failed to report the allegation made against him, but he failed and deliberately refused to do so. The court is therefore bound to believe the evidence of the prosecution. Consequently, the court hereby convicts the defendant of count 7 of the charge. I must say here that defendants have always claimed to be a freedom fighter. He is only seeking justice for his people. Indeed, this is known in law as the right to self-determination. The right to self-determination is a political right recognized in several international instruments. Article 1 of the International Convention on Civil and Political Rights, 1966, provides, and I quote, all people have the right of self-determination. By virtue of that right, they freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social, and cultural developments. Unquote. The right to self-determination also entails the right of a group of people to form their political entity or their own governments. Article 20 of the African Charter on Human People's Rights provides, and I quote, all people shall have the right to existence. They shall have the unquestionable and inalienable right to self-determination. They shall freely determine their political status and shall pursue their economic and social development according to the policy they have freely chosen. 2. Colonized or oppressed people shall have the right to free themselves from the bond of domination by resorting to any means recognized by the international community. 3. All people shall have the right to the assistance of the state parties to the present charter in their liberation struggle against foreign domination, be it political, economic, or cultural. Unquote. Nigeria has domesticated the African Charter, which is known as the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, Ratification and Enforcement Rights, which means the provision of the Charter are enforceable in Nigeria, provided they do not conflict with the clear provision of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended. Section 2(1) of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended makes it clear that Nigeria is an indivisible state, which means there is no room for division. The said section provides, and I quote, Nigeria is one indivisible, indissoluble sovereign state to be known by the name Federal Republic of Nigeria. Unquote. This means that anyone agitating for a breakup of the Federation of Nigeria is going against the Constitution. However, any person agitating for self-determination can do so through the National Assembly seeking for amendments of the Constitution regarding the indivisibility of Nigeria and to reflect the recognition of the agitating states. It is after this that the procedure can be said to be completed, but not excluding referendum. Any self-determination not done in accordance with the Constitution and laws of the country will be illegal. The defendant is not only agitating for secession of the states of the Southeast, South, and some Middle Belt states. He is doing so using terrorism as a weapon. Terrorism has become a monster in the world today, and several groups have continued to use this weapon to form separate governments. In Nigeria, groups like Boko Haram, Lakurawa, IPOB have in recent years troubled Nigeria with terrorist activities. This terror group, by their activities, has denied innocent people the enjoyment of their fundamental rights. The action of the defendant and his terrorist organization have led to the bloodshed of innocent citizens, as well as security personnel who were going about their legitimate duty. His incitement through the broadcast on Radio Biafra as well as the social media platform of the group has led to the destruction of lives and property, as well as affect the daily life of his people of Southeast. The defendant did not only threaten the government of Nigeria, but his own people. This is seen in a broadcast while addressing the death of one of the commander of IPOB, named Ikozo. The defendant on 25th day of April 2021 made a broadcast where he stated, and I quote, Ikozo was not killed on the battlefield, but was killed in his village in the middle of night. Not on the battlefield because of the battlefield. No army or police can defeat him. Ever since Eastern Security Network was launched, I have not seen anybody tell me that their life has not improved since it was launched. Around 21 minutes marked, the defendant stated, vengeance is a monster of appetite, forever blood-tasty, never filled. Ikozo is in heaven. He is going to be revenged, and by God, he will be revenged. All those who had hands in Ikozo death are all dead. People working, all of them. One special week. The above meaning is very that he said Ikozo is more than an over. Thank you. That upon the arrest of one of the IPOB commander named as Onye Army, he informed them that they were only to get 30 heads of women out of 2,000 heads of as ordered by the defendant. This court is aware that the said Onye Army was not caught as a witness in this case, and this may affect the probative value of his evidence. However, this evidence is being used as corroboration to the statement made by the defendant himself, admitted by the statements of, and is admitted as a defendant for that purpose. Corroboration refers to supporting or additional piece of evidence that supports another evidence. See Ogumbayo and the state taxation supply, where the Supreme Court said, and I quote, corroboration having been held not to be a technical term of all means no more than evidence tending to confirm, support, and strengthen other evidence sought to be corroborated. This evidence is to corroborate the evidence, the statements of the defendants. I must say here that the prosecution witnesses were consistent and calm in the giving of the evidence. Their calm demeanor, despite provocative questions under cross-examination, shows them to be witness of truth. I carefully observed them, and the only conclusion to reach is that they are witness of truth. And this court readily believed them. The defendant, on the other side, from his attitude in court, was truly very cocky, arrogant. He even stated that no court can convict him. This is a direct affront on the power of the court, which this court will not take for granted, but will do justice. It is interesting to note that the defendant, who claimed to be a freedom fighter, has even caused more harm to his own people, who are predominantly Christian faiths. Can this be said to be agitation for self-determination? Not at all. Agitation for self-determination cannot be to the detriment or to be detrimental to people who are supposed to be beneficiary of that self-determination. The usual sit at home order primarily affects his own people of the Southeast. The killing of people who disobey the order are his own people. Ordering of closure of churches and schools as well as markets also affect his own people. They are unable to trade, go to school, farm, even worship on such days. The threat of violence and death have prevented these people from going about their legitimate businesses. Are these acts of the defendants consistent with the agitation for self-determination? The answer is in the negative once again. The defendant was not elected by anybody, also cannot dictate for the people of Southeast, especially through intimidation and threat of violence. He is a terrorist. He must be treated as such. In final analysis, the prosecution has successfully established the 7-count charge against the defendant beyond reasonable doubt. Consequently, he is convicted on all the 7 counts. By the time the next just 30 minutes I go to the chambers, anybody is free to come and get the certified true copy of the judgment.
As the court pleases,
when I get to the chamber, the next 30 minutes it will be signed.
Thank you, my lord. May I invite your lordship's attention to the title of this case. It is Federal Republic of Nigeria versus NNAMDI KANU.
Commissar?
But the people, 200 million people of Federal Republic of Nigeria have brought NNAMDI KANU before this court for acts of terrorism. And my lord, in the last few weeks or last few days, Nigeria has been a season of victims of terrorism. But my lord, this afternoon, this honorable court delivered its judgment in which the convict NNAMDI KANU was found guilty and convicted of offenses under Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act. He has accordingly been convicted and it is now to be sentenced. My lord, the prosecutor has a duty to invite your lordship's attention to a few points that we guide your lordship in the sentencing. My lord, this court has again affirmed the long-standing principle that whenever Nigeria as a nation the wisdom, courage, and integrity of judges who serve within that arm of government. Terrorism, my Lord, remains one of the greatest threats to humanity. It is among the most devastating of atrocities in human history. As the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, the convict, through his broadcast on Radio Biafra and through the group Armed Wing, the Eastern Security Network, Nigeria, and took active steps to destabilize the country. By the conviction of NNAMDI KANU for acts of terrorism, it is clear that justice has been served to the thousands of innocent Nigerians who lost their lives as a result of the inciting broadcast and violent activities of the Eastern Security Network. Their blood of those who have died cries to heaven, and God in his mercy has given them justice. Justice has honored their cry. The families of more than 75 security officers who were murdered in the service of their fatherland will now find some comfort in this conviction. Those whose relatives were brutally killed and buried with equal soul of the order of the convict here have not died in vain, because justice has been done. And Lord, the record before this court are replete with the losses suffered by citizens of Nigeria residing in the interstates of the Federation. Citizens who, through no fault of their own, were forced to live in fear, had their businesses destroyed, and were reduced to paupers as a result of stay-at-home orders issued by the convicts and violently enforced by the commanders of the DSM. Justice has today set them free from oppression and economic strangulation caused by the terrorist activities of the convict. The convict now knows that the law is greater than any individual. Therefore, justice has been done to him too. And that Nigeria has both the power and the capacity to punish anyone who does deliberate, reckless act of terrorism, seeks to divide the country by attempting to create the so-called Republic of Biafra by force out of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. My Lord, consequent upon the conviction, as nothing further remains but the lawful imposition of sentence. The punishment prescribed for the offences in counts 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6 is death penalty. Pursuant to Section 1(2)(h) of the Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act 2013, my Lord, with all sense of humility, I say, sir, as a prosecutor, that this court has no discretion in that regard, and that the only sentence that your lordship will impose for counts 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6 is death sentence. This court has the power to do so, and with respect must do so. The language of the act is clear, and the court is urged to apply it strictly without deviation. For the offense under count 3 relating to membership of IPOB, a proscribed terrorist organization, the punishment is imprisonment for a term of not less than 20 years, in accordance with Section 16(3) of the Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act 2013. We urge your lordship, in accordance with death sentence, to also pronounce and impose a sentence as prescribed by law. I will find him guilty and convicted. For the offense under count 7, the punishment is 5 years imprisonment without the option of a fine, pursuant to Section 46 and 47 of the Custom and Excise Management Act, C for the purpose of federation. In sentencing, this honorable court is obliged to consider the nature and gravity of the acts of terrorism committed by the convict. It was against the acts of terrorism were against innocent Nigerians who reside in the southeastern states. It is also a terrorism act against Nigeria, whereby nobody felt safe and secure in Nigeria having regards to the activities of IPOB and ESN. The court is also note that the country has shown neither remorse nor penitence for the innocent Nigerians who died as a result of his directives and incitement. He has demonstrated no respect for the administration of justice. His conduct, even within the court, has been marked by arrogance and a heart far removed from humility. When he was going out, he looked at me and said, God will bless me. He won't say God will punish me. Say God will bless me. And I say amen. Because I'm a blessed man. It is not he, the convict, who can now put a curse on me. He cannot do that. So in any event, my Lord, I'm not being personal, but I want to assure you that somebody in that position ought to show some penitence, ought to show some remorse, ought to throw away arrogance and self-serving attitudes. The court is further urged to take judicial notice of the fact that the convict established radio browser, a broadcasting platform operating on several digital channels, including mobile radio, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, WhatsApp, blogs, and Instagram. It is a station with global reach. Evidence before the court, my Lord, shows that when the convict was arrested on 15 October 2015 at the Tulip Hotel in Lagos, he was found in possession of broadcasting equipment. The conduct of the defendant through online publications, live broadcasts, and social media communications constitute act of incitement, encouragement, and provocation of terrorism as defined under the Act. In view of the prosecution, my Lord, that without the instrumentality of the internet and social media platforms, the magnitude of destruction, division, and human losses recorded in the southeastern state of Nigeria, including Lagos, will not have reached the level it attained. The digital platform becomes tools in the hand of the convict, tools of radicalism, ethnic hostility, and incitement to terror. Their amplified being resulted in a coordinated transnational militarism or militarization of violence and destructions of public property across several states of Nigeria. The court has both the power and the duty to restrict further access to digital media through which the offences were committed by making orders that prevent the commission of similar or related offences, including forfeiture, confiscation, or restrictions of the means used to commit the act of terrorism. As a form of preventive control, the prosecution pressed this honorable court to impose restrictions on the convict's access to digital devices, online accounts, or internet facilities. In other words, my Lord, anywhere he may be kept until his execution in obedience to the sentencing, if he has access to these devices, and they are cheap and easy and available everywhere in Nigeria, there will continue to be broadcast. Maybe he will claim he was not the one. At the moment, if you open to YouTube, you see a lot of rascals talking about the proceedings of his court, trying to twist and mislead and mislead the people with what happened in court. So we're asking that your lordship should restrict him from having access to these devices. This Honorable Court, my Lord, has the sacred power to prevent convicts from further committing offences by making orders for the forfeiture, confiscation, and restriction by any means used for communication. We therefore pray that the court to order the forfeiture of all the broadcasting equipment, digital devices, and all the electronic materials seized from the convict and currently in the custody of the Department of State Security, State Service. In particular, the radio transmitter, Trans-50L, unlawfully imported into the country, should be forfeited to the federal government of Nigeria. My Lord, we want to say, sir, with all respect, that it might be argued that access within the constitutional rights, but it's not absolute. So therefore, sir, if your lordship want to order its restriction, your lordship may say, may give him the right to acquire any, but with the permission, with the authority of National Security Advisor and the Controller General of the correctional facility that he may be put. Therefore, my Lord, it's not an absolute or free right for him to begin to acquire those digital devices that may encourage him to reenact or to begin to commit the same or similar offense under his right to freedom of speech. So we are saying, my Lord, that your lordship should restrict it. My Lord, considering that the company has to be in a custodial facility, we are asking your lordship to direct that for the safety of the convict, for his safety, for his security, and for the protection of his life until your sentence or is executed, I respectfully, sir, as prosecutor, plead with your lordship to direct that he be kept in the safest custodial center anywhere in Nigeria. Your lordship need to take judicial notice of what happened when Simon Ekpa was sentenced in Finland. There were lots and lots and lots and lots of talks and talks. He has friends, but no one can say the volume or the number of his enemies who may want to eliminate him. So we are asking my Lord that your lordship order the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to keep him in the safest custodial center anywhere in Nigeria. You know, and if I may say with all sincerity, I am not too sure that Kuje, where there have been jailbreaks, will be the ideal place. So I'm urging your lordship with all sense of responsibility to preserve his life until he answers his sentence. So I thank your lordship and I pray that the incidents of terrorism will cease from Nigeria, from north to east to northwest to north central, and as we see, may God spare Nigeria of disintegration. I want to thank you. I want to appreciate you on behalf of my colleague, Adebayo Ojo and Suraj Saida. We are grateful to your worship, a well-researched, a well-reasoned, and a courageous judgment. Thank you, my Lord.
There is no doubt that the convict has waived his right to be present through its unruly attitude. It habitual unruly attitude to be in court when the judgment was read. But we must still give has to do with death sentence. I will call his consultant, that was his lawyer before he converted him to consultant, if he has any allocutors to make on his behalf. Mr. Jimako, do you have any allocutors to make on his behalf?
My Lord, being an official in this temple of justice and not being properly dressed and not being his counsel or record, I will yield this very task to Honorable Obina Agocha, who is better qualified than me being the member of House of Representatives who represents MAZI and KANU.
It's okay. Honorable, let me have your full name and restrict yourself to allocutors. Allocutors is what will mitigate the sentence. Is our brother. Let us hear you. You tell us your name. You can't, because of your ruling behavior, deprive him of allocutors. Can I hear from you?
Thank you, my Lord. My name is Right Honorable Obi Agocha. I represent the good out in the Maya South Federal Constituency in the 10th National Assembly. The Lord, I am the direct representative of MAZI and NNAMDI. That's why you see me here almost every time, showing presence and also showing solidarity with him. For now, I'm not his lawyer. I wouldn't know whether they will seek appeal. But for now, the Lord is my brother, is my friend. I went to school with him. We attended primary and secondary school together, though he was my junior. But it is my responsibility and obligation as a member of the National Assembly to represent him as well. The Lord, I plead for mercy, plead for clemency, and I plead for peace and for stability of not just the Southeast, but as well as Nigeria. Like the reading over the last few days, and to bear and to understand how to find common solutions to our common problem of terrorism. I also wish to appeal to the prosecution team that it's been done to MAZI and There are other people out there also doing more worse than him.
Please,
Sorry, sir.
I ask for a locutor.
Yes, sir.
Please, don't
So, I apologize, sir. So, I want the court to take judicial notice of that this trial has gone on for almost 10 years. MAZI is almost 56 or 57 years old now. He has been absent in his family life, his children, his community, his family. So I plead for the Lord to show mercy, to temper justice with mercy. And as we move forward, it shall be great for our country. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm a friend of the court. I will come from the other side of the government. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to address the court. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I will consider all this, and I will rise and come back by 10 minutes to 4 You may go and come back 10 minutes to 4 for the sentencing. I will rise and come back.
Thank you. He's coming out for another matter. For other matter before that, maybe you pause your camera before when we are ready for. Okay, let me. He's coming back. Sorry, for other matter, coming back in the next 10 minutes to continue. Okay.
Here on the Eastern Eye, our site